Hello everyone and welcome to another Sovereign Citizen Watch. How's everyone doing? Hope you're having a wonderful week so far. We're almost there. We're almost to Friday. Today we're looking at a bunch of Sovereign Citizen stuff. We have a little bit of Marcel talking about when he was arrested a while back. We have some Canaspinda. We have this gentleman. We have at least one traffic stop. A lot of it's just people talking about their Sovereign Citizen stuff. Sort of at their cameras, but it's interesting, weird, bizarre, delusional stuff, and you know how I'm into that, so that's cool. Hey Spokane Dogman, how you doing? Halloween Town, thanks for your 3-stream streak, says, spooky, scary skeletons. It gets stuck in my head. Spooky, scary skeletons. You know how many times I listened to Monster Mash this month? An unfortunate amount. Hello everyone on YouTube. Korax, how's it going? If you're on YouTube, do me a favor and like the stream. It helps a lot. Thank you muchly. Without further ado, let's just get into it, I guess, shall we?
Peace and love. It's your boy Don Kalam, also known as Malik Kalam. As always, prosperity is your divine birthright. What's happening and tuning in from my private office, man. Got a virtual office. This is all included, man. If you're part of the private community, you already know where it's at, man. Hit your boy up at the private office. But today, we're going to talk about foreign versus domestic. Foreign versus domestic. And this is private versus public. Foreign versus domestic. Private versus public. So, before we get started, let me let you know, I'm not a licensed attorney or tax expert. I do this for educational and informational purposes only.
Oh, good. This is giving me great vibes so far. He seems very professional.
If you need competent counsel, make sure you find you one, all right? Because this ain't that. But foreign versus domestic, man. Public versus private. I get trustees talking to me all the time, and they're not my trustees, but trustees out in the real world. They're not understanding what's going on.
You know what immediately is funny about this to me? The sunglasses inside. It took me a second to figure it out. He's wearing sunglasses in a very normally lit room interior that doesn't seem to have windows. Also, the flowers in the foreground were an interesting choice. It is layered. It's a layered video. You have foreground, he's in the midground, and you have a background with the paintings. I don't know. It's just giving me weird vibes. Bumble Homestead, thanks so much for 54 months, says, why does his office look like the reception desk of a wedding chapel? It does, like that's the centerpiece and there'd be the groomsmen and bridesmaids. A funeral, I don't think you'd use those flowers at a funeral. I don't know though, I'm not a flower person. They don't give me funeral vibes though. The Black Matt Show, thanks for following.
You hear foreign, you think internationally, and that's okay. That is part of being foreign. Domestic is at home, part of your own country. And I hear trustees all the time talk about how they're traveling. You know, I have a lot of people that travel to Belize, Cayman Islands, a lot of different places, Caribbeans. But you have to understand when you're traveling, is it a family vacation or is it a business trip? Because if my trustees, they're going to understand that this is all business, the family business. They're going to understand how to write this off as a business trip and make it business. It's not a family vacation. Well, I mean, if you want to look at it as such, but when you're writing it on the books, it needs to be a business vacation. It needs to be a business.
Wait, is he just telling people to commit fraud and write off your vacation as if it's a business trip, even if it's not? Okay, that's a weird piece of first advice, because I think that's the first actual thing he's said so far in this video. And it's to write off your vacation. Okay, interesting. YouTube keeps buffering? That's interesting. It might be a YouTube issue, because I'm not getting anything that says I'm having problems on my end.
Trip. So, a lot of people don't understand that when you have a domestic trust, you cannot use this internationally. You're going to use it at home. Domestic is of home. You're going to use it in the country. A lot of people not understanding this. Domestic is public. Domestic is of the public sector. Foreign is the private. Foreign is the private sector. Foreign is private contracts. So domestic is public.
He's a proxy, says I've had YouTube issues for months, buffering out the wazoo. So have I. I don't know if it has something to do with them tinkering with the website to try and stop ad blockers or what.
Domestic is putting your assets, if there's domestic assets, that's putting it
Oh,
in
thanks, Freyline.
the government's possession, making the government property. When you're talking about the Social Security number, the Sister K-Vi trust, that is a domestic trust.
Okay, so he said something finally that's directly sovereign citizen-y that I can reference. The Sesti K trust thing. That's what sovereign citizens call what they believe to be a trust with millions, if not billions of dollars in it, was secretly created for every United States citizen. They think your social security card and number attaches to this. So sometimes they'll try and pay their bills with this fictional trust account that they believe exists. So they'll write like their social security card number and then often like either a red ink fingerprint or a bloody fingerprint. And they think they can like sign bills as if they're like checks this way. It's very strange. It's part of the mythology.
When you're talking about just regular LLCs, that's a domestic trust. S corps, domestic trust. When you're getting permission from your Secretary of State, that's a domestic trust. When you're getting permission from your government, when it's in the public, that's domestic. Foreign is private.
Thought blood was the Moorish ones. It's in both.
You want to protect your privacy, you're going to have to learn how to do it in a foreign capacity, a superior foreign capacity. And in the way things are looking right now in 2024, you're seeing foreigners or having the lead way, having the right of way. And it's always been like that. You can go in any hood. A lot of people don't know. They're not in the hoods. They wasn't raised in the hoods. We can go to any hood and you can see who owns the liquor stores. It's going to be foreigners, Arabs, foreigners. They're foreigner on paper, Africans.
What? We're getting what is he talking about?
They're foreign on paper. Look at China and Chinatown. They have their own towns as foreigner. And we need to get like the Chinese people, Chinatowns, and have one in every city. But a lot of people don't think like that.
What? What is this man talking about?
So domestic is public law. This is what a public attorney, if you went to a public attorney and asked them to draft you a will or a trust, they're going to do it domestically. They're going to do it within public law. So you're going to need permission from the government to move around.
Okay, so fundamentally, whatever system the sovereign citizen tends to use, it is always a tool to try and separate yourself from the legal system in which you reside, right? In the United States, you exist within the jurisdiction of the United States, your local state, and locality, respectively. But sovereign citizens try to, through this mythology, through these pseudo-legal beliefs, separate themselves from those jurisdictions. It seems like this guy is doing so by trying to claim that there is domestic and foreign jurisdiction, but he doesn't mean it in the typical, actual lawful way. He means it in some sort of Sovsit jargon way, with a special definition in which one is the law you and I understand to be the law, the real law, and the other is his fictive sovereign citizen system that he thinks lets him do whatever he wants? Okay.
You're going to need permission from the government to even administer that trust and will. I want you to know most, not all.
Okay, not me, thanks. You always just message weird things. Do I need to ban you? I can't tell if it's trolling or just weird. Why?
Most countries do
Thank you, Lemon Squeezy.
not favor domestic trust. Most countries do not favor domestic trust. Foreign trust doesn't have public law. A foreign trust is contract law. Within a foreign trust, within a private family foreign trust, a lot of people, we need to talk about that today.
He's basically saying he thinks that if you are a non-citizen, he thinks that means you have more rights, because he thinks that means you are not under the jurisdiction of the locality in which you're in, and therefore everything is under contract law, which is de facto voluntary, so you can just not consent to things and you're free and clear. None of that's true, but that is what I am able to decipher from what he is saying. He is claiming that if you are a non-citizen in a country, you effectively have more rights than the citizens. Not true. Not how any of this works.
Family trusts are foreign. The government doesn't recognize family trust. You got to understand that, but we all know about it. We all know that the families hand down wealth. And that's because it's outside the scope of the public sector, part of the economy that the government controls. The public sector is the part of the economy that the government controls. Public banking is the part of the banking system that the government controls. When you're banking with the public, Bank of America. Credit unions are private. That's part of the private sector, but they
Does he think Bank of America is a public organization because it's called Bank of America? Does he think Federal Express is a government agency?
still
Who does he think will enforce contract law? I don't know. I don't know.
operate on private contracts. All right, a lot of people need
You have a feeling this guy doesn't know what he's talking about? You know, I get the same vibe. It's kind of why I picked the video.
to understand this. Just Google these things. Fact check me. Contract makes the law in the foreign trust. And I hope that makes sense for everybody. So I'm going to say it again. I need this to make sense for everyone. Contract makes the law in a foreign trust. Contract is the law. If you have a prenup, contract is the law. You can have your own private marriage agreements. That's law. When you're invoking the government, when you're invoking the public, domestic, this is part of the domestic trust. Public trust, private trust. The public trust is domestic. The private trust is foreign.
Okay, I understand what he's saying. He's wrong, but I understand what he's saying. Like what I said before, he thinks that being a foreign trust, aka a non-citizen, is also being a private trust wherever you are, so everything is voluntary and via contract law, like the UCC, whereas a domestic trust, aka a public trust, aka a citizen, is under the jurisdiction of their localities and have to follow all their laws. I can do it. I can speak crazy.
This is what I need everyone to understand when you're hearing this foreign entity, foreign nationals. Everything foreign is outside the scope of the government. Being Amish is foreign. They're foreigners to the United States corporation. They're foreigners to U.S. citizens. Just like being Chinese, so is being Amish. So is being
Great, I can do. I'm sorry, this guy's great.
Moorish. Foreigners to the United States corporation. They're foreigners to U.S. citizens. Just like being Chinese, so is being Amish. So is being Moorish. So is being Jewish. They're part of their own congregations, part of their own private communities, part of their foreign entities. So when you're establishing these foreign entities, all right, it's part of the corporate veil.
The corporate veil. They're not corporations. Being Chinese or Jewish are not corporations. Those are ethnicities. or religious groups, depending, Judaism is like an ethnicity and a religious group.
A lot of people say if the company's doing something wrong.
Same with Amish. Amish is arguably, I guess, an ethnicity because they're borderline inbred, and that's a religious thing too. They're like hardcore Mennonites, basically.
Can the company veil be pierced? And the answer is yes. That's when the government steps in, is when you're hurting. If you're not doing anything wrong, you can do what you want. All right? So corporate veils can be pierced if you're doing anything wrong. And that's what happened with Trump. But based on the contracts, do the books have to be revealed? And that's what you have to think about. Because things can be pierced. But it's contract law if the books have to be revealed. So a foreign entity can hold domestic assets. I'm asked that a lot too. Can a foreign entity hold domestic assets? And the answer is simply yes.
Convenient for you. You get to say you're not under the jurisdiction, but you get to own domestic assets in that jurisdiction. It's convenient for what he wants to believe. Korak says, as someone who does finance and corporate law, hearing him talk about the corporate veil and excuse me, foreign way just slaps me across the face. And Ashley says, if Chinese isn't a corporation, why does everything I buy have made in China stamped on it? Checkmate.
A foreign entity can hold domestic assets. Now, can a domestic entity hold foreign assets? And I would say yes and no, but check this out. I wouldn't do it.
Hold on, I gotta look at this guy. What's his most popular video? Oh, God. He has a video that's over 500,000 views. Oh.
Now I'm just saying, I'm the hottest nigga in the streets.
Oh, he did a rap.
G took the motherfucking MP.
Born and bred hustler in my veins to go get it. Surface marked the name, now the world is my kitchen. Duffel bag boy, 2 chains, I'm so different. All I know is nothing, adding O's to the digits. All I know is hustling smartphones and them widgets. Slinging X-Lax, the way I keep shitting. I'm the one adding nothing to the digits. Google every lyric and you still don't get it. Nothing on the books when I came home from prison. Now it's quantum sleep, rest well when I've risen. Truth never changes, Anacasa in the living. Stand up, Gaba, Anacasa, how I'm sitting. Screaming eagle body.
I so badly want to be a hype woman, like in the back of a terrible rap video. Like, I just see so many bad raps and stuff, and one day, I just wish I could be in the background of one, just embarrassing myself. The dream. It's on my bucket list. Someone asked for a link to this video. Here you go.
But this place is a challenge because it puts the assets in public view. And anything in public view, the government claims to own. Anything part of the public sector, the government claims to own. A lot of people need to understand that and understand that. It's own nothing, control everything. But if you're putting things as a person, a persona, a person, a legal, fictional entity owned by that Social Security number, you're using the Social Security number, you're a domestic asset to the United States corporation. You can look these things up. 28 U.S.C. 3002, subsection 15A, United States means federal corporation. And I do have my phone on me today, so let me look this up. Because I want y'all to look this up. U.S. business means U.S. citizen. It's an actual code. U.S. business means U.S. citizen. And that is going to be United States business. It's going to be under 15 U.S.C. 4724E1. 15 U.S.C. 472 4724 4724E1. 15 U.S.C. 4724E1. United States business means a United States citizen. United States business means a corporation, partnership, or other association created under the laws of the United States or any state, including the District of Columbia. United States business means a foreign corporation. When you're
Did he wear the sunglasses to hide how much he was going to be reading?
establishing it as such under their laws. So this is why you have to understand the private sector, and the private family, private clans, private tribes. I don't even use the family word. That's what they are. They're servants to the government. That's the government's family. They use the word family. And a lot of people don't understand that. And all you got to do is look up the etymology. Look up the etymology of family. I need everybody to do that for me. So you can understand. I don't even use the word native. Native means in bondage. Native means servant. So
What?
family means servants of a household. Members of a household, the estate, property, the household, including relatives and servants. So when you're coming in with the public trust, you're coming in claiming a persona. The birth certificate
You didn't miss Marcel, no.
is showing that you're their maker. They made you. And I stated that wrong. They're showing that they're your maker. A birth certificate shows who your maker is. I want that to sink in and just think about it, because you're not supposed to make a covenant outside the one in your only higher power. You don't make no covenant outside of God. They're playing God here on earth. A lot of people don't understand that, but that's their job in the public sector. Even in the
Job in the public sector is to play God? Okay. Trey says, hey Hannah, just swinging by to say hi. Been at Disneyland for like 6 hours. Back to it. Catch ya in the VOD. Have fun!
Bible, it tells you who's going
Get one of those big churros. Get one of those big Disneyland churros. Those are good. My personal, what I would go for. I don't like a Dole Whip, which is another that's quite a famous Disney treat. Not a fan. Get the churro.
to rule the land, who's going to rule the earth. All right, we're not going to get deep on that today, but you have to have a clear understanding of that. You know, I stress this over and over and over again. There's no history book. There's no religious book that ever said the government was for you. All right. Their job is to make sure you own nothing. Their job is to make sure that you leave your children nothing. You cannot
That is not the job of the government. Fun fact.
leave wealth behind with a social security number. The number dies with you. They administer your affairs when you're operating in the public. I need everybody to understand that. So foreign countries do not deal with most domestic entities. A domestic entity to them means liability due in part to the United States is under bankruptcy. The United
Had a few churros. Hell yeah.
States is in bankruptcy.
I gotta move on from this guy because he's frying my brain, and frankly, we're not even halfway through the video. I can't imagine it gets any more reasonable.
For personas, all right? So, but do know
Maybe
the
I'll
difference between
watch the other half of that some other time, but I need to move on to something that at least has some sentence structure that makes sense. Okay, here's Marcel talking about that time he got arrested for threatening the Prime Minister.
Hi everybody, how are you doing? This is an exciting video. This is the first time ever publicly that I will be reading the actual transcripts from when I called the RCMP, and that got me on top 10 most wanted for the RCMP regarding threatening them with private law during COVID and all of that. So let me just get to the actual transcript here. So I'm going to give a little backstory. So basically what happened was, I
thought it was the premier of Manitoba too. Maybe he's lying here, maybe I'm misremembering, or maybe it was a separate incident.
Animal sanctuary out in Riverton. I was driving back to Riverton and the police pulled me over because I had lawfully sold a quarter of weed. Turned out to be to an RCMP, and I'd done it a few times, but within that I had every right to. I was completely legitimate, under private law, properly cured rights. I had promoted it in Riverton, the town.
AKA he thought that his private law nonsense made it so he could legally sell weed when he couldn't.
Got a little crotchety about it, I guess. There was a lady with a restaurant there who was going to be opening herself as a weed dispensary. So I believe that they actually filed the initial complaint. I had given them a free gram as a tip when I went in and ordered something, and then they used that. So the RCMP said he was investigating. Within that, I told him to do a political status determination when they pulled me over. I had my sovereign ID with me. I had everything with me. So long story short is...
There's no such thing as that, Marcel. You're not anything. You're a Canadian citizen. You are a Canadian citizen. That's it. You don't have a special status.
After they released me,
Don't worry, everyone. By the way, Marcel's banned. He can't comment anymore.
Left the property because I don't like being where police know where I am, or at least I didn't back then. Now I don't care. So within that, I moved back to Winnipeg, and I lost that property because they stole probably somewhere between about 6 and 10 grand worth of both money and weed and whatever. So within that, because of my political status, when court time came to go for those charges, I called the court and said, I'm not going, but I want to know if I'm going to have a warrant. And
why would you need to ask, Marcel? If you think you're a separate entity, why would you care about a warrant? But if you, on some level, know that you don't actually have a special status, of course you're going to get a warrant. You know you're going to get a warrant for not showing up to court because you know the laws apply to you.
And so within that, they checked, and there were no charges in the system. My name wasn't in the system under my old legal name or my current name. There was no record of it whatsoever. So I called the police to tell them I wanted my weed and stuff back because they weren't charging me. They didn't get back to me. And then finally my birthday came.
Hello, is this the police? I demand my marijuana back.
I was living in an apartment. I had the charges. I was very frustrated about it. And then within that, I had lost the property. They didn't even charge me after. So they violated me. They arrested me for 24 hours, released me, went through my property, robbed me, violated our embassy because it had all the proper notices and postings up that it was private law and all of that.
It's almost like it wasn't an embassy, despite the fact that you put signs up.
They violated all of that, just in the end to not even charge me. So they literally unlawfully robbed me. And then I called them and told them I want it fixed, and they just laughed at me. So this is after that. I got really baked on weed. I was really mad at the system that they're a complete fraud. So within that, I'm just going to do the disclosure in here. I'm going to say just N-word. When I call them the N-word, I say the full hard R, but I do it because they're slavery enforcement, and it's the only way I can piss police off when I'm in custody because they act like you're their authority. So if you...
That's such a bad excuse. There's not really any excuse to be using the N-word. But, like, that's your excuse, as you think it makes the police mad? That's a bad reason, Marcel. That's a really bad reason. Like, if you just want to make the police mad, there are different things you could do. What are you doing? It's such a non-excuse. H-Baird says, correction, if his net worth has at least 9 zeros, then the laws don't apply to him. True.
You tell them thank you for being a servant, or call them the N-word. They don't really like that. I never do it to anyone who's at.
I think that's true of virtually everyone on the planet. I don't think anyone's thrilled at you hurling racial slurs at them. I'm sorry, I'm just cracking up that he thinks he found a cheat code, like, oh, here's a tip, did you... Like a video game loading screen tip, you can upset people by yelling racial slurs. Like, yeah. Don't do that. Don't do that. What are you talking about? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Oh.
Actually African American or black. I respect black people. I love them. I think they're awesome. I had a gentleman call me one time and ask what I think of black people, and I said I think they're great. They're athletic. They have rhythm. You know, I've learned so much from that culture and that community that I think they're great. So within that, yeah. But anyway.
Is Marcel capable of saying anything about race that isn't the most racist thing? Like, even when he tries to not be racist, it's always just racism. God damn it, man.
Okay, so this is me. I got super baked. I was really mad. I was upset I had lost my fiance of 7 years. I was upset I lost the property. They were talking about mandatory vaccines coming. That's when Trudeau was threatening everybody that if we didn't do it, I thought they were possibly going to start coming to people's doors and forcing us. And if it weren't for the truckers and them being heroes, which they're praised internationally. So anyone in Canada picking on them, you're an a-hole. So shut up. They're heroes.
They're really not, Marcel. They're not heroes. They didn't accomplish anything.
Just because they showed physical presence. That's what saved us then. And they're going to pull more stuff next year. So anyway, so this is the transcript. I'm just going to read it now. Here we go.
Ashley One Up says, hey, Marcel, welcome to Rock Bottom. Hey, what are you doing with that shovel?
I'm international fucking law. That's me. So this is the cop. Yeah, I got you. And then me. You feel me, you piece of shit? Okay, what's going on? That's the cop. What's your number? You got a home address too, bitch? Nuremberg Code. You're in violation of it with all this COVID shit. Your job, you're a war criminal because you're a corporation infringing on the rights of all mankind. You're in violation of Article 7, International Criminal Code, as well as the Nuremberg Code, which is international law, you fucking retard. The cop says, okay. And I just want to point out in this is me calling them as a Chief Justice in the middle of them committing war crimes. And under Nuremberg Code, the Nazis were hung for the like same type of case law, same type of everything. So within that,
Really, Marcel? Do you really think that reasonably trying to compare Nazis with people during COVID is maybe not exactly a comparison that makes any sense? Beat Poet DJ, thanks for 18 months, says, oh my, this sub-baby's name is going to be, Marcel's Shovel. We're not doing bingo, unfortunately. Overthought with 100 bits says, Chili sees this, furiously takes notes, so that's how my last stop could have gone better.
anyway, I'm just going to keep reading. Personally robbed my sovereign embassy about 4 months ago when all charges were dropped, and now I'm going to see that you're all put to fucking death. Do you have anything else better to do?
Yeah, okay, I see why he was arrested. Yeah.
Today. You have a home address, right? $300, I'm going to get it, and we'll see you at your house, and we'll see what you have to say when I have 30 guys with fucking guns at your head, you fucking N-word.
Oh yeah, I see why he was arrested.
Now, keep in mind, I'm talking about private security. I'm talking about lawful arrest.
I'm talking about lawfully coming to your house with 30 guys with guns and arresting you as a private citizen. A thing that's not in any way legal.
When I said that you're going to be put to death or die or whatever, I just meant after they're prosecuted by international courts, because that's what happened to the Nazis.
Oh, that's better. That's better then.
But I didn't explain proper context because I was just going off. I was really mad. So the cop's like, okay, perfect.
With that proper context, that would have fixed it.
Me again. You're a fucking piece of shit. You know you're a war criminal, eh? You're selling out all fucking Canada, you piece
You know you're a war criminal, eh?
of shit. You're a fucking Nazi. We're all gonna string you the fuck up, and I'm coming after your family too. You think I give a fuck? You're a cop with a badge. Google it. You fucking N-word. I'm a global government, and I'm gonna fuck you up.
I'm a global government, and I'm gonna fuck you up. That's a step up from I'm a judge, you're fucked when we first saw Marcel. I'm a global government, and I'm gonna fuck you up. Oh.
Did I go too far? Well, when I'm threatening...
Did I go too far? Well, you know, we all make mistakes in the heat of passion.
about coming after his family and that, I just mean by investigating them. Let me just make sure. Yeah, so when I talked about going after the family, I just meant investigating them. But again,
I wasn't threatening your family. I was just going to investigate them. Don't worry about it. Nemesaur, thank you so much for gifting 20 tier 1 subs. That is incredibly generous of you and kicking off a hype train. If anyone else wants to support the hype train, they can gift bits or gift subs. It's appreciated. Thank you so much again, Nemesaur.
trying to word things in
95% to level 5 on the hype train. Almost got a level 5 right out the gate thanks to Nemesaur. Moira Soma, thanks for subscribing at tier 2 for 42 months. Gets us over level 5. Hell yeah. Thank you, Nemesaur, and thank you, Moira Soma. Phyllis Filler with 80 bits says, we were passed too far 15 crimes ago, Marcel. Level 5 complete. 25% to level 6. Thank you for this wonderful hype train, everyone.
intimidating ways. So again, I wouldn't do it this way again. I just literally had a moment that I got fucking mad. But keep in mind, these are pedophiles, these are Freemasons, these are people injecting family members and killing them and forcing...
Those are real specious accusations you're making against people. Sheesh. How is he still not in prison? I don't know. I really don't.
all of these things. So the legal system is wrong. I'm right in what I'm saying, even though in law...
They may have just determined he was more of a danger to himself than others. I don't know.
Can't threaten harm, so I guess in that way I went a little too far. But if you understood what was in my mind in the context I meant, it was lawful. Good for you. You're a fucking piece of... Good for you, sir. That's the cop. Me, look up case law. You're fucking dead and your little piss-ass detachment is nothing. You guys got, what, 20 cops? Fuck you. We're going to find out You're gonna find out. Look what cartels do in Mexico, you fucking assholes. I've been organizing this shit for 15 fucking years, and now you guys cross the line. You're all fucking dead. Nuremberg Code, penalty of death. Go look it up. It's your own legal code, you fucking asshole. We're gonna do superior private law judgment, which again, Alliance of Indigenous Nations has indigenous tribunals. I didn't know them then, but I'm right in everything I'm saying. This is coming. It's just going to be peacefully done and lawfully. And to anyone hearing this, I was already charged for it, uttering threats against the Prime Minister, threatening police, all that stuff, and it's all dealt with, so I'm done, and I can't get
It's fine.
in trouble for this. Now I'm sharing it.
That's double jeopardy, baby. He can do these same threats as many times as he wants. He's seen the classic film Double Jeopardy. That's exactly how it works.
We put that info, we put that into the legal court, and then your own system arrests you. Then the international trials happen, and then you get hung by your fucking neck till you're fucking dead, and your own peers are going to be the ones that convict you, you fucking retard.
Strike two.
And that's what happened to the Nazis. And the COVID vaccine's killing way more people than the Nazis.
No, it's not. It's not killing anyone. What are you talking about? Riotous Bunny Queen, thanks so much for 36 months. This sub-baby's name is going to be Dear Lord Help Me, Marcel is the worst. A bit wordy, but that'll count.
Nazis did. I'm not condoning Nazis. They're pieces of shit too, but just so you know. Okay, and who's calling again here, sir? You dumb motherfucker. What's your agent number? Give me your agent number. I'll give you my name. I already told you who I am. What's your agent number, you fucking N-word? My number is 61368. Now, is that his real bad number? I don't know. I'll have to check. 61368. You got a name to go with that? Yeah, you could look up the number. Actually, in law, you have a name and badge number. No, I don't have to. Actually, he does. You're a fucking ignorant piece of shit. Contract law. Are you fucking stupid? I might not be a peace officer. Who knows, right? Doesn't fucking matter. You work for them, right? Then you're a war criminal, which means you're fucking dead. Okay? There's mass genocide happening right now, you fucking prick with a badge. I mean, you're calling and you're making threats, so I'm just asking your name. You're a war criminal, you're a Nazi, you're fucking dead. Marcel, the family beset, Peacemaker Society. Okay, perfect, thank you, have a good day. Criminal violating Article 7 of the International Criminal Code. Dead man fucking walking. How's it going, you prick? How can I help you? You can fucking die. That's what you can do.
Hello, how can I help you? You can fucking die! My first channel, thanks for a 7-stream streak, says, how is he real? I don't know, it's incredible, isn't it? Minute left on the hype train.
You for being a
38% to level 6.
Nazi, you fucking asshole motherfucker. Okay, sir, you know you're being recorded right now. Oh, and I knew. Just so you guys know, the reason I did this, okay, I got in trouble for going a little too far in the threatening side, but I did mean with law.
It's so funny that he's acting like he was being a bit cheeky instead of like doing what he was doing, which is awful. 100 bits from Terradona. Thank you very much. 30 seconds on the hype train.
Within that, the reason I'm doing this counts as notice. So this is notice. And this went into the court record. So I can use all of this when we actually go to tribunals to go after them. So that's where sometimes I act a little like really out there, but I do it so the other side doesn't take me seriously and I get what I need. I have a shirt with the movie White Man Can't Jump on the front of it. So think of me like that sometimes. Sometimes I make myself look a little crazy or a little weird so that I can get them to give me the goods because they don't take me seriously. If they actually understood exactly what I can do and what I understand, they'd come at me a lot harder than they did.
That doesn't make any sense! Chai T-Rex, thanks for 19 months, and thanks everyone for the hype train.
Peacefully and lawfully again, won't be crossing any lines. So good, okay, so do I know I'm being recorded? Good, law of agent applies. You're in violation of the Nuremberg Code, and I'm recording this too because you're being brought up on international war crime charges, you fucking retard.
Boo! Alright. Oh, that's enough Marcel for the day. Jesus Christ, why is he like this? Alright. Let's get into a brief traffic stop and the follow-ups. How far in the video did we get? About a third, which is better than usual for Marcel videos. I'm working on edited content, so some of the Marcel stuff I might turn into edited content because I can bleep him. Could be good. But yeah, I'm working on something right now that'll probably be out like Monday. It's just a basic video. It's basically just what I do here with videos, where it's like, hey, the video, and then I comment on it and react, talk about what's going on in the video, but edited. So, it's cool. Marcel is why bleeping exists. Very true.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Officer Salmon with the police department. I stopped you because you don't have any plates on your car. Do you have proof of ownership for the vehicle?
I do. I'm on my way to the DMV right now,
Can you
ma'am.
roll down your window for me?
It's down as far as you go. Can you give me a second? Let me grab papers.
I can't hear you.
Can you give me a second so I can grab some papers?
So roll down your window? Thank you. Do you have your driver's license on you?
I don't answer any questions.
Well, you have to show me a license or proof of ID of some kind.
Hold on a second.
Do you have a driver's license?
Answer questions, ma'am.
What's this? I don't know what this is.
I reserve all of my rights right now. If you need papers, call a sergeant and we can deal with this.
Okay, so fail to comply?
I'm not
So then
fair.
you can step out of the car and until I understand who you are. I don't know what this is.
Will you take your time and read it? My name is on there. I'm not keeping anything from you.
I don't know who it is. Do you have any photo ID with it on it?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, can I have that?
You got a warrant?
I don't need a warrant.
You guys keep saying that, but you really do.
I really don't.
They don't. In a traffic stop, they don't need a warrant. You're supposed to give them your ID. That's lawfully required of you if you're driving on public roadways.
You do, ma'am.
Yeah, this guy's been arrested multiple times for this stuff.
Have you? Okay. So I'm gonna have you step out of the car until I can figure out who you are. Are you not gonna step out of the car?
Are you going to force me out?
I'm not gonna force you to do anything, but we're gonna be here a long time.
Okay, well, I got time to wait.
Do you have proof of ownership for the vehicle?
I don't answer questions, ma'am, unless you have a warrant or probable cause that I've
You have committed a crime. You're driving a vehicle with no in-transits and no registration. That's a crime.
Where's the victim?
The city of Lincoln.
Yeah, well, tell them they can't be the victim. They're not a real person.
They can. You're required to have registration in your vehicle, proof of ownership,
Okay.
and you don't have it, so I'm allowed to investigate and see what you have for
Okay,
ownership of the vehicle.
just call a sergeant down here, please, and de-escalate the situation,
Okay.
please.
If I have to do that, you'll also get a ticket for fail to comply.
Do what you got to do, ma'am.
Will do. What's your date of birth?
I don't answer questions.
I'll be right back.
This fucking shit again.
If this keeps happening to you, have you considered that maybe the common denominator is you and your behavior? Have you considered it's not everyone else?
Hey, sir.
How you doing, sir? What's your name and badge number?
Officer Orth, 1759.
1759.
Can I take a look at your VIN, please?
I would prefer not.
Do you own this?
Yes, I do. I'm going down to the DMV to take care of the title work now. And just to let you know, I'm not driving. I'm not in
Doesn't
a
he always say that when he gets pulled over? As I was just on the way to the DMV to get it done now. It's a lie. It's just so they might give you a warning instead of the ticket for not doing it. But he's never really on the way to the DMV.
commercial capacity. I'm traveling down the road. I'm in a private capacity.
Can I get the VIN off the door? Want if I do that?
No,
If I do that?
no. It's going to come back as a silver F-150, but it's correct. Can I have all three of your business cards, please? I think she's got a ticket there. Government's starting to go broke. This guy's just chuckling. He thinks this shit's funny. I think he knows who I am, although I've never met him before.
All
Hello,
right,
ma'am.
here's your paperwork back.
Thank you.
So I'll explain your ticket to you. This can be for no proof of ownership, for driving without an operator's license on person that you provided to me, refusing to comply with my order, and improper registration.
Yeah, you're not generally allowed to cover your VIN.
Your court date is going to be April 23rd at 10:30 at this address.
What's your name and badge number
Yep.
for the record?
It's already on here. I'm going to need your signature right here by the X. It's
Can you
not an
please state-
admission of guilt.
Can you please state your...
Officer Sandman 1242 to be on this piece of paper.
Thank you, ma'am.
Your signature by the X is not under notice. The promise she'll show up for court. Thank you. Here's your copy. I circled the date on the back. On my copy, I'm also gonna need your right fingerprint.
No,
on the
ma'am.
bottom of this. You don't have, since you
That's-
don't have proof of ID.
That's my property.
Okay, so you're refusing to sign this ticket?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I already
you're-
signed it.
You signed it with words, not with your name. I need you to sign your name.
I'm not signing it.
Okay, then I'm gonna write you a ticket for refusing to sign your name
You know
and
what?
refusing to
That's
comply to my
fine.
order.
That's
Okay,
fine.
Stay here.
I'm going down to the courthouse to speak to...
It's very fine. I'll be right back. I'm gonna write you one more ticket. I'll be right back.
Okay, ma'am. What's your name and badge number, ma'am? Ma'am, you guys are all on camera. Do you
I
understand?
already gave you her name and badge number, like multiple times, I think.
I gotta pull out and I gotta write another ticket for refusal to sign. So what if I don't sign that one? You gonna write me another one? This is fucking
Maybe. I don't know how it
ridiculous.
works.
He's just laughing, dude. He's fucking getting a kick out of it. Already it's 1:30. Hour and 40 minutes. She didn't want to fucking state her name either. Should have told her your stamp needs to be red ink. Without it, we have no law.
Boy, their tickets are fucking huge.
There's him thinking it needs to be red. It doesn't.
You haven't asked me for my license or registration. Calm down.
I don't care what the reason is, this type of behavior needs to stop. And it needs to stop because you cops are just like us. We're people. You know what I mean? Trying to get through our life alive, to spend it with our families. The fuck is wrong with you people?
Like, I get that, but also, if you're driving around without a license and you're gonna get arrested for that and you're refusing to get out of the car, what do you expect them to do? Like, you can't just have a petulant child breakdown and sit in your car and go, no, I'm not gonna comply with the law, I'm not gonna get a driver's license, and you can't do anything, and expect nothing to happen. Like, it's a consequence of living in society.
Do you not know the type of tyranny you're allowing in your own country? I hope your children are treated this way. And there's no mercy. I'm sick of this shit. It's got.
I'm gonna be honest, if my kid drove around without a driver's license and that happened to them, I'd probably be like, yeah, that's gonna happen. Why did you do that?
Gotta stop. It's gotta
Menu Frog, thanks for tier 1 sub with Prime.
change. Everything's gotta change. You break my window, you pull me out of this car. That's the thing with you people. You're only tough when you got backup, okay? You're not tough by yourself. You're a coward, and that's why you guys come in fucking.
I mean, that's the nature of organized, like, law enforcement, is that they can overpower you with, like, force. They have numbers and equipment. That's, like, the point.
Packs of 6 and shit. Put your hands on me. Just do it. I ain't got nothing left. I don't care about anything here. Shit's gotta change. Changes today. Deputy.
And then this is the last video I had with him. He's calling because I think while he was arrested or something, his RV was towed. This is him trying to get it back.
Hi, is this Chris?
This is.
Hey, Chris, just to let you know, your camper is not stolen. It was towed.
For what reason?
It was towed for abandoned property.
It wasn't abandoned.
Well, you can't park it where you had it parked, okay?
Well, nobody said anything about it. It doesn't say anything on the sign that you can't leave it there for a day. It says day pass.
Yeah, good.
I was coming back to take it off the land. It's gone. So it's been stolen. If you guys know who I am and you know that's my stuff, you should have called me. It's been stolen.
No, that's not how we work.
I know you guys
It was
economically
meant to be
carry
in-
people. Listen, where's it at?
It's at Midwest Towing, and with proof of ownership, you can contact them tomorrow and get it out.
Wondering if he has proof of ownership, because a lot of the time Sobsits don't have registrations and stuff, which is like, you know, maybe a good reason to have a registration so you can legally identify it as your personal property.
And what was your name?
Butters, Butters.
And what's your badge number?
902155.
Who is the citing officer, I guess? Who's the one that issued it? The tow.
The tow, Lancaster County Sheriff's Office.
Which officer, though? That's what I'm asking.
Well, Deputy Osterhouse that towed it.
Deputy Oster?
Osterhouse,
And what's his badge number?
902105.
Okay. Thank you, sir. You said Midwest Towing.
Yep,
Got it.
yep. All right.
Have a good day.
Wonder if he got his car back. Let's do... Let's try this one. This is a sovereign citizen that I think wants the roads to be privatized. He says, want better roads and drivers? The answer is privatization. So let's see how that goes.
Driving, insurance, roads and policing. The purpose of this video is to examine the current low-quality, inconvenient, dangerous and expensive monopolized social approach for driving and compare it to a privatized approach. So the
God, what a shit show.
main categories here we're looking at.
Sorry, I'd go the quicker way, but I don't have a subscription to the Disney Universal Verizon Plus Highway. I only have a subscription to the GE Warner Brothers Prime Parkway. I have to go around.
Capacity to drive, which in the current day is called licensing.
He's a sovereign citizen.
Next, we're going to be looking at...
But yes, he's like, he believes in volunteerism as a form of government, but he does the sovereign citizen stuff.
record keeping, which is called registration. Then we have road building, and we have road safety, which is policing. Currently, when people are becoming licensed, they're trained by a parent. In Australia, we have the L plates. I'm not sure how it works in other countries, but at the age of 16, you are able to get your L plates and you can drive with a parent and they will teach you how to drive. And then at 18, you can go and do your test. The problem with driving with parents is that it's hit and miss. You don't know if the parents are going to be good quality drivers to teach their children or not. It's like, my mum, not a good driver. My dad, excellent driver. Not everyone has a parent that knows how to teach them how to drive well. So that is very circumstantial. Not a great approach, or can definitely be improved. And people can pay for tutoring, which may or may not be very good. So the way people...
Do they not have driver's education in other countries? Because, like, I took driver's education in high school to teach you to drive, and there was an instructor, right? I also had parents teach me, like, you got your learner's permit after driver's education. He's talking like you literally don't have any sort of primer before you get into a car?
Are qualified to drive is they need to pass a test to get a license. They pass a 30-minute test, which hardly tests anyone, and it's made for the...
I mean, there is a bare minimum bar that you have to exceed in order to pass the test. It's not the highest bar in the universe, but it's higher than just letting anyone do it.
Lowest common denominator, and it's more about rule adherence than...
Driver's ed isn't in high school anymore. You have to pay now. I think I had to pay when I was in school.
Safe drive.
It wasn't like on the curriculum. It was I think, an after-school activity.
Ability or competence. It has
but it was available.
Little to do with actual competence, because the monopolized system of licensing isn't aware of what driving competence actually is. All they have is competency to the adherence of the rule system, which is an incompetent rule system. So it's not a good system. And then people have to register with a monopoly. And if you don't understand what a monopoly is, it means some kind of organization that has been established through force and that prevents competition. So that means that the quality goes down, the service goes down, the price goes up, the efficiency goes down.
It depends upon what you're talking about. The market can't effectively serve for this because you need a centralized, like, determinate test to get people to take in order to determine if under some specific standard they're exceeding it, right? But if you have a bunch of different companies, you would have different standards?
There's nothing ever good about a monopoly. And so it actually doesn't provide any value, these registration companies, Vic Roads or whatever it is in the state or country you're living in. They say they build and maintain the roads with the money that you use to pay for registration, and they might. I mean, there's all these other vectors that the money is coming in from that they charge you, from GST and the fuel tax, income tax, council rates and all the fees everywhere. But the thing is, they allow no competition, so naturally the way they build the roads is going to be lower quality and it's going to be more expensive. If you
The roads are the kind of a thing where you can't really have effective competition. That's not how it works. Like, the amount of work and time that goes into figuring out where they're going to go, how you're going to buy the land, how you're going to get the property from people that you have to if you need to, like, knock something down in order to build the road through an area. Like, these are all huge logistical problems that you basically need the government to deal with. Like, what are you talking about? Fenekagami says, I'm begging anti-government people to understand this. Yes, the government sucks at services, but you know what consistently sucks more? Private corporations. They always provide worse services than the government. That's why they want the government out of their business. They don't want to be held to a higher standard. Dillis Filler says, I pay for Samsung, Lockheed Martin, Paramount Plus so I can drive my truck that doesn't meet any safety standards but can definitely roll coal to own the libs.
don't have their registration, their policing agents harass you and may even physically assault you, may even kill you. So obviously that is not a good system. That is not conducive to peace and order. That's the exact opposite. So what is a better way? Because the quality of the parents teaching the children is unknown and varies greatly, people would be disincentivized to do this in the beginning because insurance companies wouldn't cover any damages, or they would, but at a much higher fee. So what I'm suggesting here is as soon as one is ready to start learning to drive, typically at the age of 16, they take a course on how to drive. This course will be professional and there will be competing companies or agencies that...
Why wouldn't you just make it a public thing? The second you make it a private thing, it's going to be a race to the bottom for who charges the least to pass you. Terradota says, we already have subscriptions to roads and other services. It's called taxes. And Ashley One Up says, this 10 miles of uneven dirt-covered highway road is brought to you by Elon Musk. Please ignore how it's simultaneously flooded and on fire. Just pay your $50 a mile, $40 if you say something nice about Elon.
Teach people how to drive. It could be a 1 week, 2 week, 4 weeks course, however long these professional companies decide it needs to take to teach you how to drive properly, respectfully, responsibly, and safely. We can only guarantee that it's not going to be 30 minutes. That's the only guarantee we have. It's going to be longer than 30 minutes because that is an absolute joke. It's not even funny that that's the current system. And people think that's a professional, orderly, civilized system to qualify people to drive on the road. It's absolutely outrageous. It's a scam, an absolute scam. So these companies will be the best. They'll be run by, most likely, race car drivers, the professional race car drivers, because they're the best drivers in the world and they know how to drive efficiently and safely and how to handle emergencies, because that's the biggest time crashes happen, in emergencies, when the car tire pops, when they're aquaplaning, when there's ice over the road, where someone is changing into the lane, or when a brick or wheel falls off the back of a truck. Race car drivers are fast, they know how to improve their reaction speeds, and they know what to do, how to avoid collisions and avoid these unfortunate emergency-like situations. The best courses out of these will be the most successful. They're going to make the most money because they have the best...
Oh, this guy really worships at the feet of, like, the invisible hand of the market.
training, and the people who are in that local area will go to that business. That's just the way business works with every type of company. And that's a very good thing, because not everything is monopolized. Only 1% out of the whole marketplace is monopolized. It's mainly just, well, you have roads, you have rulemaking, there's security, there is military and lawmaking, rulemaking, but there's no monopoly on shoes or milk or meat and eggs and computers. There's competition. That's why there are products that are better and others that are worse, and the things that are successful in the marketplace, they end up winning. Most typically, even though we're not in a purely capitalistic society, so that's very difficult to actually happen. But it's still better than pure communism or socialism, where things just aren't good for anyone except for the ruling class at the top. So the best courses will...
As opposed to capitalism, where you don't have a 1% benefiting from the labor of everyone else. Wait, what?
People how to drive safely, responsibly and respectfully in all road and weather conditions, taking them through those extreme situations, how to handle themselves when things go wrong. Especially reaction times, like that's a simple one, because I've been in situations so many times where a kangaroo's jumped out or a dog's run out or I've aquaplaned or something's gone wrong, and because my reaction times are so quick, probably from martial arts and playing video games, my reaction times are so quick, I'm able to react and I know what to do in those situations.
He knows karate and gaming. What a Chad. All right, let's move on.
My constitutional rights are being trampled. If you would please come up to the microphone. We are on the record in 2024 TR 617. Sir, you may need to scoot over a little bit to be picked up by that microphone. I'm not sure, but sometimes you have to be in the middle with it. Mary Ann Shirley appears for the state. Are you Abel Estrada Jr., sir? Yes, if I may, can I make a statement? No, not yet. Okay, sir, you are charged in count 1 with on or about the 21st day of August, 2024 in Greenwood County, state of Kansas. Then and there, contrary to the statutes of the state of Kansas, unlawfully operating a vehicle, to wit, a 2011 GMC Acadia, upon a highway which does not have the signed license plate. I think they mean that the vehicle didn't, not the highway, but your vehicle did not have the assigned license plate properly affixed to the rear of the vehicle, showing the current registered year. And this is an unclassified misdemeanor. It is punishable by up to $2,500 in fines and a possible sentence of up to 6 months, 30 days minimum, up to 6 months, although probation is usually granted. Now, sir, did I not just have you in municipal court recently on the same charge?
Yes, and I don't understand why am I seen again, because that would be double jeopardy.
Oh no, it's another person that doesn't understand double jeopardy. No, this is a separate instance of the same crime. You can't be charged with the same instance of a crime twice, but you can be charged with the same crime more than once if you do it more than once. This is like saying, oh, if I rob a bank and I get acquitted, after I leave the courthouse, I can go back to that bank and rob it again and get away with it because double jeopardy. No, these are separate instances. I like the movie Double Jeopardy as much as the next dinosaur, but it's not very realistic, I'll have you know. Toreador says, oh my god, the cutest, I love it. Is that about the costume?
Sir, you haven't been tried on it. You had a first appearance on it, and apparently the city prosecutor must have dismissed it and refiled it over here for whatever reason, I know not. But as I recall, your plea was not guilty. Is that still your plea?
Yes, but I'm here to make a separation between my name. My name is Abel Estrada with low caps. This name on the top, I don't know if you can see it. This name on the...
Yeah, he's trying to claim the all caps name thing. This is where sovereign citizens think that government documents, like court documents that list your name in all capital letters, secretly that's referring to a legal corporation with the same name as you. So you're not the defendant, that corporation with the same name as you is. It's nonsense. It's literally just in all caps to make it more legible. That's the only reason it's in all caps.
The top is my straw man. I am the man, and this is the straw man. So if you're calling the straw man, I'm here to represent the straw man, but I'm Abel Estrada Jr., the man, the living man.
I'm calling the living man.
So,
So are you going to have an attorney? Are you going to need to apply for court-appointed attorney, or will you be waiving your right and representing yourself?
no, of course, I wanted to have an attorney, but I still haven't not made
Who's the guy in the car? Random guy. He's probably up next. They'll just have people in the waiting room in Zoom, but like they're on the call.
statement, which is.
Are you going to hire an attorney or apply for court-appointed?
I cannot afford an attorney, but I need to make my statement that.
Let me get a few things worked out, sir. You're going to apply for an attorney, so you'll need to fill out an application for court-appointed attorney. And the deputy down there can give that to you. Make sure you fill that out and get that back to me before this hearing is over. Make sure you fill in all the blanks and you sign it and you date it where it says to, because I generally don't consider those if they're not thoroughly completed. And then you call back to my assistant, Missy, later in the week to see if one is appointed and who that will be. Do you need Missy's number, or did you take it down earlier from the other hearings?
No, I don't have.
All right. Missy, do you want to give him your number?
620.
I haven't explained my position.
Sir, we're not going to have a trial today. You're going to need to talk to your attorney before you have a trial. So Missy, when is his trial date?
I wanted to move.
Sir, please do not interrupt. Missy, when is his, and we won't set it directly for, do you want to set it directly for trial, or do you want to set it for a status so I can check in with you after you talk to your attorney?
I don't know what the status means.
Well, let's set it for a status, Missy, or control.
November 22nd at 10.
You, sir, will need to be back here by Zoom November 22nd at 10 a.m. Are you on bond? Let me check.
Why would I need a bond?
Complaint from the cause. There is no bond on the file, and it is an unclassified misdemeanor. So I'm not going to make you file a bond since it's an unclassified misdemeanor. If you fail to come to court, though, most likely a warrant would be issued anyway, and you'd be taken into custody. But as long as you come to court when you're told to, that's not going to be a problem. So you're going to call and get your attorney, or find out if you have an attorney.
I haven't given a chance to.
You do not need a bond, and you have your court dates. Now, what is it, sir, you want to say?
Number one, I want to move to a motion to dismiss this case because I didn't try for this, and I have the license plates, both license plates. I was not driving anything unlawful or illegal. I'm living in the private. I'm driving in the private, and so I want to move for dismissal with extreme prejudice. And also
not just prejudice, but with extreme prejudice.
I want to make sure that you understand that I want to keep all my constitutional rights. So far, my constitutional rights are being trampled over right now by yourself because you're not giving the chance to speak. I have not given the chance to speak. You're just going over and over, and I'm requesting that you remove this case because this is double jeopardy. I already appeared in court for this thing. I already suffered the court. I have not been given the opportunity to explain myself. I want to keep my rights, and I haven't been able to keep my rights. You yourself and the lady on the other side signed a oath of office to uphold the Constitution of the United States, and I'm not being given those rights right now, man.
I hope his lawyer can explain to him how wrong he is when he gets one, because he has a very bad misunderstanding of what's going on.
I respectfully...
With the double jeopardy thing especially. He's so confident and so wrong.
Honor my rights. And I want to move for a complete dismissal because it's double jeopardy and I already appeared in court.
All right, well, I did give you the opportunity to speak. You were speaking, not I, not Miss Shirley. And so I gave you the chance to say what you want to. If you want to talk to your attorney can help you put together the motions that you've kind of implied, at least, if not outright said, you want to pursue. But we will take that up on the date that I gave you to reappear.
I'm sorry, I didn't, it's breaking up. You said you're gonna take what up to do what?
I can take up any motions that you want to file at a later date.
Toreador says extreme prejudice is when the judge grabs a skateboard and does a sick kickflip in the pulpit and grinds on the jury box and high-fives them all with the gavel.
The next court
sounds awesome.
Date, we can revisit any motions or visit any motions you want me to consider.
I appreciate it, thank you. Being dragged down so much and I have a hard time moving around. As you can see, I'm disabled and I only come here once a week to the hospital to be treated. And all this court is putting a lot of stress and I'm not able to heal properly. Why are we dragging it out so much, ma'am?
When did you get this disability? I don't remember you being unable to walk the last time I saw you.
I feel like that question's out of line. Like, do you recognize the mobility, like, of all of the people who come to you in court? I don't know. Normally I'm okay with this judge, more or less. I felt that question was pretty out of line.
I came in my bike is right here. I have it right here. I don't know if you can see it. But I normally use a walker in a wheelchair, but I'm using the other one because it's easier to carry in the car. It's what's it called? It's knee scooter. I have 2 amputations on my feet. So ambulation is very difficult. I'm having a lot of pain. In fact, I'm under medication right now. I don't have a clear mind, just so I can be here because it's too painful.
Well, that's why you need to call back here. You don't have to come in person. Call back here or have your wife or helper, whoever that is with you, call for you, and Missy can tell you if you qualify for an attorney and who that attorney will be and how you can get a hold of that attorney before your next court hearing. We did give you the date of that court hearing. You will need to be back here for that, but you can do that by Zoom. You don't have to even leave your home to do that as long as you've got a clear signal that allows us to communicate. So you're always welcome to come down there to the courthouse like you're doing now, but you don't have to as long as you can communicate by Zoom. And remind me, what town do you live in, sir? Are you from Kansas?
Yes, I'm in Howard. But even last night, when I got the letter from the sheriff, they brought it to me at 5 o'clock last night. I didn't even know.
All right, well.
So it wasn't improperly served. I got it like literally last night.
Yeah, he's in the courthouse through Zoom. Don't know exactly why.
And I'm trying to get people to come in and I don't have the time. I don't have the ability to move that fast. And so
you were just complaining a moment ago that this case wasn't moving fast enough, that we were dragging it out. So there you go. Moving too fast, you say.
Yes, but it's dragging on because it should be dismissed because I already.
I'll take that up at a future hearing. I'm going to need to let you go, sir, because I have others to address today, but I will certainly listen to any motions that you file. Put your motions in writing. If you have an attorney, let your attorney do it. Someone told me you've already filed some things in the court or tried to. Is that right?
I did, ma'am.
All right. Well, we'll look at those. And if there's any that need to be heard, we'll certainly do that. But talk to your attorney if we appoint one. If you don't, you can hire one. And we'll take those up at that next hearing.
I'm going to need an attorney, so I'll call Missy.
Sounds good.
Good, he's getting an attorney. I'll give him that. I hope the attorney's able to set him straight because he's not going to end up in a great place. This one looked pretty interesting. Cataspinda had someone on who also claims to be wronged by the government because he was fined, I believe, a little over $300,000 for environmental damage caused by changes to his property that he needed like a federal license to do and he didn't. So anyway, he went on Kat's show and is complaining about it.
Thank you all for joining me. We're going to just spend a couple minutes here. I have Phil Daly here. Phil and I had met. I've been following his story for a while now. It seems like it's at least been the last several months once we met and discovered.
Is this a septic tank guy? No, he had, I actually pulled up images from this. Where is that? There it is. There's a bulkhead on his property that used to be slanted, basically this wall that would try and keep, erosion from happening. And there was a previous one that was designed to be slanted, but he had that removed and replaced it with a flat one, and he didn't get the appropriate licensing and didn't get the appropriate, environmental checks, and it was somehow detrimental to the local, waterway, and changed the flow of the river or the lake or something. Anyway, he got in big trouble for it. I can read this, actually. Bulkhead for new home on Hood Canal runs up nearly $300,000 in fines and fees. The story of the 3-story home perched above the waterfront to take in the beauty begins with the concrete bulkhead below it. It's almost 3 feet tall and 46 feet long, nestled within the waterway. Construction of the bulkhead began in 2017, and it allowed for the property owner to build bigger, adding 570 square feet of living space to the 3,000 square foot home, according to the federal court record. It also killed Chinook salmon, caused permanent environmental damage, and was built without a necessary federal permit, the Environmental Protection Agency determined in November. A federal judge levied nearly $300,000 in fines and fees against Joan Bailey, her son, Philip Bailey, and Big D's Beach Cabin LLC of Unions, Mason County. The case in U.S. District Court for the Western District of Washington went on for years, with nearly 300 docket entries, some 20,000 pages of documentation, exhibits, pleadings, claims, and counterclaims. U.S. District Judge David Estudio at times appeared to grow exasperated with the defendants, noting that their lack of compliance with discovery orders in the case made consideration on merits impossible. After a default judgment in the EPA's favor in April, Bailey continued to file motions which the judge stated were based on, quote, allegations utterly unsubstantiated and unworthy of consideration, unquote. The unpermitted development had shocked some people who had worked for years to protect the fragile waters of the Hood Canal and species that depend upon it, including the threatened Chinook salmon and the orcas they feed. Philip Bailey is also listed as the trustee of the property next door, a vacation rental that last week was going for over $1,500 a night for the first weekend in August. Jesus Christ. So, rich property owner does illegal and damaging changes to the environment, gets fined, comes on the internet to complain about it.
We've been just discovering during this process that the system isn't for the people. The system is for, the brotherhood, the people in the court systems, the corporations, the insurance companies, the banks. These are the people.
Alex Johnson, thanks for following.
That rule the world, or so they think. The problem is that we, the people, are starting to see and realize with our real eyes that there is an illusion that is taking place in our world. And there are these people out there who say they work for the government, and they are very, they just love to stomp on our rights. They don't like the Constitution. They don't like the state constitution. In fact, if you bring that up, they start, they just start falling apart because
Kat's interpretation of events is always so interesting. It's so twisted by her delusional worldview. It's interesting to get in her head.
They know they don't follow it, and they're stomping on our rights. I wanted to bring Phil on here because he has an incredible story. And it just goes to show you once again that these people do not work for us. And while they're out there, putting their seal and their stamp on trafficking they traffic us in the system, through the court systems. There are babies that are being butchered out there. And for bail, they say they want to save the fish, but then there's...
I wonder how this guy feels about the babies being killed for bail thing. His face was a little weird at that. Like, he probably just wants to complain about the federal government fining him for doing rich guy stuff. And here you are talking about sacrificing babies. Toreador says, ugh, her laugh. Every time it speaks volumes about her. Anyone with trauma knows that laugh and the pain it hides.
Have no problem going after babies, going after us, we the people. So anyways, I'm going to bring Phil on here. This is Phil Bailey. Hi, Phil. How you doing?
Great. Hi, Kat.
Yeah, thanks for coming on my show. I really appreciate that. I've been asking Phil to come on my show because this story that he has is just so incredible on how the federal government has gone after him and his family on this fiction that's going on. And there's really no one that can explain it better than Phil. And he is just a wealth of information. So I wanted to introduce all of you to him. And so we've got live going right now. So if you want to get in on the chat, please do so. But Phil, so I'm going to go ahead and get my studious glasses on here because I have some questions that I want to ask you. But before I do that, can you introduce yourself? Let us know who you are, what you're doing, and just how this all started. Like, once you, built that wall, you're obviously there on the land. How did this all start? And tell us what happened.
Yeah. Long story short, my great-grandparents built some property back in the 1930s, and my mom inherited the property. And she's also sued, by the way. They went after her. She's only 80 years old,
Her age is irrelevant to the thing that's going on here. If she's an owner of the house, she's also culpable. It's a weird thing. He's defensive already. Oh, my elderly mother couldn't have done this. Okay, well, she owns the property. So I don't know what to tell you, man.
And a lifetime Democrat, by the way.
Her political affiliation has nothing to do with this.
So they don't care. And the property next to us,
it's a weird thing to bring up. Implies he thinks Democrats don't get in trouble with the law, usually.
Bulkhead started falling apart, started failing. And we said, well, that's not good, because if that goes, then that's going to impact our properties. So we acquired the property, and I went to the local government, the trusted local government. And I said, hey, what do we do to fix this failing bulkhead? And they said, no worries, let's have a meeting out there. We love meetings.
Since the feds went after him, he blames the Dems. I mean, he's a rich guy, so he probably blames Democrats for a lot of things generally.
So they called out the state. The head honchos all came on out, and they said, hey, Phil, here's what you can do. We'll walk you through the permitting process. And once we all sign off on it, you're good to go. So I did exactly what they told me to do.
Right, but you're like an adult, so it's your job to make sure you have all the proper permits and are doing things legally, not them. Like, you got permission from the state, and that's good, but they apparently have different standards than the federal government. So, like, maybe you should have used some of your money to look into that? I don't know what to tell you. I'm not going to feel bad for rich guy.
They walked me through it. We said, hey, how can we make this more environmentally friendly? They said, well, if you move it back a little bit and you don't replace concrete, because of this new design.
Let me read you what the EPA's thing on here says. Today, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced Joan Bailey, Philip Bailey, and Big D's Beach Cabin LLC of Union, Washington, have been ordered by the U.S. District Court of Western District of Washington to pay a $250,000 penalty and provide $33,000 to the Hood Canal Coordinating Council as mitigation for illegal bulkhead replacement work resulting in the death of Chinook salmon. In August 2017, Mr. Bailey, Miss Bailey, and Big D's Beach Cabin LLC removed an old sloped concrete bulkhead along the shoreline of the Hood Canal and replaced it with a new vertical one. The project, which was performed without the required Clear Water Act permit, discharged dredged and fill materials such as dirt, spoil, rock, sand, and concrete into the Hood Canal. In August 2020, Mr. Bailey directed contractors to build a stairway adjacent to the new bulkhead and fill the shoreline behind it, again discharging concrete and other fill material into the Hood Canal. The construction projects permanently and negatively changed the pattern of tidal flow and circulation along the shoreline. These changes advance beach erosion and decrease the overall ecosystem functions of the Hood Canal, particularly as a spawning habitat for several species of fish. Construction of the bulkhead also likely increased the pH of the water that came into contact with it, which can kill or injure fish. Mr. Bailey, Miss Bailey, and Big D's Beach Cabin LLC admitted to the death of endangered Chinook salmon during the construction of the bulkhead. I'm sorry, it just cracks me up that they own their house as an LLC. Big D's Beach Cabin LLC. There you go.
You will expand the tidelands. You'll help the smelt, the fish, the water, and we'll guide you through it. I said, great. So we went through the permitting process, got the permits, and I've never done a bulkhead. So the workers said, hey, just have the state come on out and tell us what to do. I said, okay. So the state came out and the county and literally told them what to do.
Again, it really feels like you're passing the buck here. Like, I'm sure the state and locality have their own rules regarding this stuff, but, like, it's on you if you're doing a major piece of construction to look into this stuff. I'm sorry that there are federal guidelines. Not, like, actually sorry. I think it's a good thing that there are federal guidelines. I guess I'm sorry you didn't think to look it up. But again, that's on you, and it sounds like you didn't comply with the court battle either. Like, I would maybe feel bad if it was a genuine mistake and you were like, oh, I'm trying to pay and fix it, and they're just coming after me. I would get if they were being overzealous with the litigation when you were trying your best after you realized your mistake, but it's pretty clear from the reporting on this and from your attitude here that once it was brought to your attention that this was an issue, instead of fixing it, you got mad about it and decided to try and be a dickbag. That seems to be the issue.
Where to put the wall. They were there every other day, practically, inspecting, ensuring compliance.
And you think he's just lying? It wouldn't surprise me, but I don't have solid evidence of that, so I'm not gonna, just say it.
What the bulkhead is. When you first said bulkhead to me, I didn't even know what that was way back then. I had to look that up. But can you explain?
Sure. It's essentially a seawall. So Mother Nature is extremely powerful. So with waves and tidal action, if you don't have a structure abutting your a structure that'll protect your uplands.
Sorry, I gotta use the bathroom real quick. While I'm gone, Cher will tell you about Space Sheriff Gavon, the movie. Be right back after I use the bathroom.
it will get washed away. So I believe it's Washington State, maybe it's 40% is all bulkheaded up to protect our uplands from washing away for all the residential property, the ports, probably even the Navy bases have bulkheads. They're all over the
Oh, abolish reality. Thanks for following.
place. I think 40% of Hood Canal has bulkheads. And it's there to protect the environment, to protect life, to protect property, and to ensure consistency. So homes don't fall into the water, land doesn't erode. It's just a good thing to have. But they take maintenance, right? As with everything, you just can't build it once. And the original one was built in 1937. So as you can.
State Sheriff Gavin has appeared from the Super Sentai Team Go Busters. Is that this one? Is that this one? Is that this one? I don't read Japanese. Someone sent this to me and I can't read it. It's in Japanese. Is that this one? I see Gavin on the cover and there's Sentai Rangers. And there's Shider. But I don't speak Japanese.
You can imagine over the course of, say, 90 years, it needed maintenance. So to do maintenance, you go to the local permit. And in 1952, Congress in the Submerged Lands Act said, hey, we recognize, people have bulkheads, they have land that maybe was put into our waters. And we just want to recognize that, disclaim all liabilities, and proclaim here and to the executive branch, which would be the EPA, Army Corps, that as long as the current property owner is following state law, that we waive all claims, liabilities, damages arising out of the state, a person following state authority. It's called the state rights, equal footing doctrine of the U.S. Constitution, 10th Amendment.
Great, so why did they decide to come after you? Kagami says, here's the thought, maybe just don't buy property next to a body of water where erosion and flooding are a problem. Because climate change. Or maybe we should just ban a lot of these kinds of properties since rich assholes keep doing shit like this.
Amendment, it's a thing, but it kind of gets in the way of Agenda 2030 right now. And
oh no, he's into stuff too.
Yeah, so and then in 1971, Washington State said, hey, we're going to protect this structure also, and all other structures in Washington State. And we're literally going to say this is uplands, and they can be altered and changed by a local permit.
Nah, Isaac Inanimate, you can actually use Google Translate with a picture now, with like Google Lens. You can actually open this and like do Google Lens. And I can't show you this, but like, I can look at this with a camera and it translates it for me. Here. Translates to Space Squad SA! Or something. Versus Space Squad. It didn't do the first one. Maybe it's too crazy a font to recognize. It would do the back, though. The true identity of the culprit who stole the Neo Kayutama is Humi. Space Ninja Demost revives the villains together with Humi and attacks the Kaiju Rangers. Don't you believe in Humi? Tsurugi decides to put an arrest warrant for Humi throughout the universe, which infuriates Lucky, leading to them parting ways. Furthermore, Space Sheriff Gavon, Space Sheriff Shider, and the rest of the Space Squad appear in attempts to arrest Demost. Doesn't translate the clearest. But it does translate.
Local permits from your local government. And the reason why is because the local government, as my wife discovered in her citizen.
Do I already have Star Trek Generations on Blu-ray? I found a collector's edition on regular DVD. Yes, I have the 4Ks. Thank you, though.
Test, and she became a citizen. This isn't rocket science. What is one of the rights reserved for the states under the 10th Amendment? Land use. Local governments manage land use. That's why you go to local government for building permits. This is a structure. So.
Okay, but they're like talking about environmental issues, and the EPA exists and sued you and won, so clearly that's a moot point. Fenekagami says, how long before conspiracy brain rot causes rich people to ignore warnings and die in their waterfront properties? Excuse you, haven't you heard they'll just sell them to Aquaman?
That is why
I love Harriton's Blimby.
the local government was overseeing the project, because it's within their exclusive jurisdiction and it's a building permitted wall. To answer your question.
Okay.
So long story short, they have jurisdiction, they oversee it, they sign off on inspections, and after each inspection, the workers do the next activity. And the state was also there, Fish and Wildlife, the experts, directing the workers, telling them what to do. And my lovely neighbor got the wonderful idea that she should file a false complaint. So she
Is it a false complaint if you were found guilty? If you were found culpable, if you were indicted, and you were, or successfully sued, rather, it's probably a civil thing. If you were successfully sued by the EPA based on this complaint, was it a false complaint? Really? Can you reasonably claim it was a false complaint when they were correct?
She submitted that to Army Corps, and Army Corps got it, and through public records, you can see that they determined there was one of the worst violations they'd ever seen within a couple minutes. They filled out a enforcement
sounds like it must have been incredibly egregious then.
A matrix that required criminal investigations, civil investigations, referrals to the EPA, and that was before they even came out and looked at it. And as you can imagine, did they get a warrant? Did they work with the local government? No, they just trespassed at a warrantless search. And what they discovered is they had made a mistake. They had made a mistake. It wasn't as the neighbor said it was in her complaint. And they had a choice. They said, boy, I don't think this is in our jurisdiction. He moved the bulkhead backwards, which means he expanded waters of the United States. He expanded the tidelands. He helped the environment. But what do we do?
Does he understand that that's not inherently helping it if it changes the environment in a deleterious way? Like, does he understand that that doesn't matter if you made the lake or the river or whatever theoretically bigger? You could have fucked it up in that way. They also claim you got a bunch of concrete and stuff into the water, like that you polluted it.
What are we going to do here? We have Fish and Wildlife, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife, the NOAA environmentalists, Army Corps, the EPA. They all want this guy's head on a stake. What are we going to do? Tell him we made a mistake? Oh gosh, no. We'll talk about this back in the office. So they went back.
This guy legit is just a narcissist that doesn't think anything can be his fault and that everyone is working against him. Paranoid.
Back to the office. 2 weeks later, through public records, they fabricated evidence. And you have those on your side. They depicted a bulkhead built out into the waterward of the original structure to the right and left.
I'm just putting not me thinks in timeout just because you just type really weird random stuff. Really weird random stuff. That's a timeout. Be less random.
Left of it, because it was all one concurring structure. And they use that as the basis to open up civil and criminal investigations.
Well, let me ask you this. Okay, so you had to change, basically to simplify it, there was this retaining wall, that's the bulkhead. And you replaced it, you did it, and you met all of the, was it the county or the state codes?
All of the above. They were there telling the workers what to do.
Okay, but not the federal ones, apparently. Like, what are you're missing the whole point. You were successfully litigated against. What are you mad about?
Yeah.
Which was approved, and I actually, where did I put that? I think
And I'll even add, later, I discovered that Congress recognized they didn't have jurisdiction under the Commerce Clause. So they added a special thing in the Clean Water Act under Section 1329 that expanded its own act called the Coastal Zone Management Act. And in that, they said, hey, we recognize we don't have jurisdiction here, but we will give states lots of money to allow us to influence their state laws.
Yeah, that's how a lot of things work, is that government money ends up being a way that the federal government influences states to do things by incentivizing them or disincentivizing them to do things they don't like, correct?
To bring them into compliance with the Coastal Zone Management Act and the Clean Water Act goals. Washington State was the very first state to participate in that program in 1976. That is exactly what I was permitted under, were the programs that the EPA and NOAA had been signing off on as being consistent with the Clean Water Act since 1976, and then again in 1998, and again in 2020 after they sued me.
That's crazy. Now, right up above me, I have the approval on your wall.
Yes.
You sent that to me, and I want to make sure that that's all for everyone to see. They're on everyone's
They
on public.
permitted work. Yeah, permitted work.
Again, the local government or the state may have, the federal ended up disagreeing, and you lost a case over this after refusing to do anything. Like, what is he doing here? This is like the Bed Bath & Beyond people. They're just still like, we won! Like, what are you talking about? Like, you lost demonstrably. I have to go fill my water. I'm out. But as an apt choice, while I fill my water, Chair will talk about Captain Planet. He's a hero. Gonna put pollution down to 0. Anyone? Be back in a sec. Just gotta fill this. Wonder if that's the Blu-ray release. No, it's DVD. I know this isn't out on DVD. It's only out on, or it is out on DVD. It's not out on Blu-ray. There's no Blu-ray of this that I am aware of, unless they're coming out with one. But I normally hear about that when they're coming out with stuff. Like, multiple times a day, I'm on Blu-ray.com looking at the news section. Like, today it was announced the next Disney Plus Blu-rays they're doing. Loki Season 2, Hawkeye the series, Mandalorian Season 3, and Ahsoka are all coming out on 4K.
Exactly. Permitted work. And Congress said in the Coastal Zone Management Act, no less, that the feds would have no authority, that any of the decisions made by the local government were legally binding. What's legally binding mean to you?
Yeah, legal. Well, first of all, legal is unlawful for the most part.
It means that they gave you the approval incorrectly. It means that they weren't lawful to sign them off because it wasn't actually in compliance with the federal rules. Glad I could answer the question for you, sir.
It goes most legalities, codes, regulations, statutes, mandates, policies, procedures, most of them violate our rights protected under the Constitution.
But legally binding upon the feds. This is Congress saying any of the decisions and programs that we've approved and that are under the state per their Constitution, the local codes, decisions that they make, like my project is a replacement bulkhead that causes no environmental harm, that it passed all inspections, is legally.
Except they found it did cause environmental harm. Why do you say that? It wasn't. It found eventually that it did cause environmental harm. People who looked at it initially from the state were incorrect.
Binding upon Army Corps and the EPA, federal judges, the DOJ. Legally binding is legally binding.
Ashley One Up says, how dare I be held accountable for my negligence? This guy probably.
There's no exceptions.
Yeah, that's just crazy. Well, let me ask you this, Phil. So you've replaced this wall. Your neighbor put in a
He has a weird smugness.
complaint.
You notice
she has
that?
her own
What's up with that?
wall. You got an approval, and here come the feds that come in. Riddle me this: how in the world did it get up over $300 million? Like, what did
300,000
you do to deserve these penalties? For who came up with that amount? I mean, what are they basing all of that on, anyways?
I dare ask, where do you have jurisdiction over my property?
They're the government.
Where do I have to get permission from you to work on my own property?
Yeah.
The Clean Water Act, apparently, for one.
They've never been able to answer that. It's been 7+ years. They just said, but you do. You have to. Where does it say I have to?
Really? Where does it say you have to follow the law? In law books.
Yeah.
That's like saying, hey, someone in China says, hey, Phil, for you to work on your own property, you need to get my permission. Yeah, I'm Chinese. The US government is foreign, right? They're not part of Washington, they're DC, but you just need my permission because,
Okay, no, he is into this sovereign citizen stuff, so he thinks Washington, D.C., the federal government, is a separate entity than the rest of the country. Okay. He's wrong. Royal Land with a $2 super chat says, Union lives off tourist enjoyment of the water.
I say so.
Reasons.
But it's his. Obviously, all the water is his. Phyllis Filler says, here in Oregon, we just finished removing 4 old dams from the Klamath River as part of our restoration. Salmon are in upstream tribal lands for the first time in over a century. This guy is in Washington on Hood Canal, one of the 4 main basins of the Puget Sound. Salmons are already in danger in the PNW. Fuck this guy. Also, here's a video of the before and after of the river restoration. Ooh. Oh, wow. Wow. Yeah, after. Very cool. Neat.
They've never been able to answer that. If you do something in their property, yeah, it makes sense. Maybe you need to get their permission.
Use it. Sorry, I mispronounced that.
But here we have rules that if you work on your own property, now actually the US Constitution says it. Under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, it defines a limited authority of the federal government. And the Washington State Constitution says, hey, we are sovereign here. We've taken all the waters, all the lands, all the shores into statehood. And the only thing that we have granted to the United States is under the US Constitution, those limited powers. And if the United States wants to be able to regulate private property that Washington State hasn't disclaimed, Indian reservations, national parks.
Do you own the part of the river you're on? Because, like, where I live, for instance, you can't, like, own a piece of the beach to the Great Lakes, right? Like, you can own a piece of property adjacent to it, but the actual beach itself and the waters, like, adjacent to your property aren't yours, right? They're part of the lake. It's a beach. It's not your property necessarily. Or at least I think that's how it works here. If it doesn't work that way here, it works that way in some states. So I don't know what the deal is in Washington, but often if it's like a river or something like that, the river itself is not your property. It's the purview of the state or the federal government or whatever.
It must buy the property back.
You can usually own the beach, but not the actual water. I think the beach thing is state dependent. Not sure about Michigan, but definitely not the water. I'm iffy about the beach.
It's like that private property thing, right? You got to buy it. So you got to buy it back. The problem is they don't want to buy our properties. They just want to control it. And what I ran into is I was test case subject number 1, from what I can tell. Back in 2012 to 2016, the state administrators, the really, geniuses, right? And the local feds said,
Overthought with a quote from the Michigan Legal Code says, in Michigan, private shoreline property stretches to the water's edge, but private beaches are treated like thoroughfares with foot traffic allowed up to the natural high water mark. That makes sense. Thank you. That's probably where I'm getting it, because you can, like, go through it if you need to. It makes sense. Royal Ann with a $2 super chat says, Hood Canal is a large body of water.
You know what? We think water actually goes up further, and for the environment, we need to increase our jurisdiction, because really these people shouldn't have land along the shoreline. It should just all be pre-European condition. That's just because
does he think he's the first person sued under the Clean Water Act? I don't know. I don't know why he thinks this is like a special case.
We're the feds, you know? We know best. But they ran into the problem. Well, that would require a constitutional change. That would require just compensation, due process, and buying all of our property. Well, that's inconvenient, isn't it?
It is. How long have you owned this property for?
My wife, Dr. Blast, is also listening, and she texted me, in Michigan, you can only own the beach until the highest point that the water goes. So high tide point that's public, anybody can walk across it. Yeah.
This one was since 2017, but the other properties since, 1937?
Okay. And, you know, I'm sure you went through all the processes required of you to gain this land, and, you know, pay everything that you're supposed to pay. But here you have the federal government who loves you, right? They just love the people. That's why they make sure that all these things are going on in the background. I mean, have they done anything for you at all to help, or are they just there to just come after you in this whole situation because of this bulkhead?
Yeah. And I guess I never answered your question about how they got up to $323 million last dollar. But what I discovered is they couldn't follow the law by changing the Constitution, by paying us for our property. So they thought through hook and crook, through their force, that they would just take their personal agenda,
He's just like, he's not even arguing he was wrong, or that he was right and they're wrong. He's just mad they had the authority to do it. You notice that? He's not even arguing like, I didn't do the thing they claimed. He's arguing they shouldn't be able to tell me no. It's so interesting.
Policies and force it down our throats. And I dared say, why do I need to take my private property project and turn it into a federal activity, subjecting me to your regulations?
Because you're building something on what is considered property under the purview of the Federal Clean Water Act.
And because of that and their agenda to now start controlling people's property and subjecting them to the Endangered Species Act, which we're not subject to as a private citizen and private property, so that
I'm sorry, what? Do you think you can bring an endangered species on your personal property and, like, shoot him in the head? Because I promise you, that's not how it works. Try that. Capture a bald eagle on your property and decapitate it on live leak and see how that goes for you.
Then they could say, you owe us $50,000 just because we say you do. And if you don't, then you can't maintain your property. That is where a judge said, every act that you took, mind you, after I was told via permit and inspections, is a new and different violation. And I think they said six of them. And every day since 2017 was another $60,000 or $69,000. And when you add that up, it's 323,510,000, yada, yada, yada.
I mean,
I thought the article said 300,000. They keep saying million. Now, this is like a $300,000 thing, but they're saying million. A lie. His LLC closed in 2020? Interesting. Did he end up having to sell the house? Or did he just close up the LLC in the hopes that that would solve his legal issues?
With a straight face.
It's insane. It's just insane. I mean, so you got this approval from the county and the state don't they have something to say about what's happening here with the federal government? And this is why it's so important that the power.
It kind of seems like his best move here wouldn't have been to go, no, I shouldn't be able to do anything. His legal defense probably should have been, I got approval from the local and state governments, so they're the ones that should pay to fix it. Like, I'm just putting it out there. If this was me, I would kind of get like, oh man, I misunderstood. But I'd recognize the issue. I'd just be like, hey, I got approval from these guys that are also state people. Like, can they help pay for it or something? I don't know. I don't know if that would even work. But it would be better than this, where he's just in denial that anything should ever apply to him.
Or even go back to the states. But even then, who's, like you said, who's the right to tell you what to do on your own property? That's
Correct,
just insane.
correct. The U.S. Constitution doesn't say that you have private property rights with an asterisk, does it?
Mm.
It's absolute. It's absolute. So, what did the local county say in return? They said, "You're not my client. You're not my client." And I said, "But your job is to secure our liberties, our rights. That's the purpose of government." "No, you're not my client." "Yeah, we might have told you to do it, but that's not our problem."
Wow, that's just unbelievable.
And per federal law and state law, the only people with the authority to bring enforcement was who? The local prosecutor and the state attorney general. And what if you or me pretended to be a judge? What if you started just having your own court hearings and started penalizing people and playing judge? You know,
what
what
you mean,
that's
like
called?
the judges today are right now? Like those judges?
You know what that is? That's defined as a criminal act of impersonating a public servant. And I told the prosecutor, did you give the DOJ permission to act on your behalf? Do you recognize this federal judge as a Mason County Superior Court judge? And they oh, we're not going to answer that. Okay, public record request. That's one of the only things that they will do. And they answered it. No, we don't know who these people are. We haven't given them permission. I said, but you're the lead agency. This is a criminal act. Mm-hmm. And they just put their tail between their legs and go, I can't believe this is happening. I can't believe it.
I'm sorry, he thinks that the local law enforcement needs explicit permission to charge him with, like, a federal Clean Water Act violation? Oh, God.
This is happening. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Surely you'll prevail.
Ben Kagami says, also, this Republican libertarian idea of the government can't regulate what I do on my private property is bullshit. Dude, do you think you can build a ballistic missile on your land? What about an airport? No, you can't, and it would be stupid to allow you to. I'm tired of these assholes who think they shouldn't have to live and cooperate to live in society being coddled. There we go.
What are they doing is absolutely nothing but say we owe no duty to you, but if you don't pay your property taxes in 3 years, we will come take your house and auction it off. Their words.
See, this is why, there is a major land grab going on all across the country. And I know many people, my friend Maureen, she and her husband there was like a put against from the ex-wife and the lawyers, and it was like $650,000 that was garnished with his wages with nothing. There was no due process. There was no court case about it. They didn't even know about it. Just one day, this thing, garnishment, shows up at his job for $656,000. And I thought that was a lot of money. But we're talking not even $1 million here. We're talking $323 million. I mean,
again, it's 1,000. I don't know why he's saying million here. I feel like she made a mistake and now he's just going with it for some reason. It's over 300,000, not 300 million.
And I'm true. I see
because
that
they can.
Just because they can. And that's the whole problem is we got these judges. Who was, would you say who the name of the judges who signed off on?
Absolutely. It's a brand new Biden appointee affirmed by the Senate, David Escalio. He's the chief.
I like that he said that like it isn't just, yeah, this guy who's a judge who was approved by the rules of how that works.
chief judge of the Western Washington Federal District, and he basically mocked me with all of my briefs. And
maybe your briefs were bad. Oh my god, did you have a lawyer or did you do this yourself? You said your briefs, not your lawyer's briefs. Did this guy try to fight the federal government? Pro se? Oh god. No wonder he lost so hard.
And he's dead wrong. You look at the law, and he mocked me as if he didn't read the law, or as if he didn't care what the law said.
You don't understand it as well as he does. He went to law school.
As I shared with you before the show, the whole lawsuit against me was a fiction. It was all a fiction.
Everything I don't like is a fiction. Real life doesn't bother me. I stick my fingers in my ears and go la la la. Nothing happens that I don't like.
They talked about a property in Morgan County, Washington. There is no Morgan County, Washington. They talked about a new bulkhead. There was no new bulkhead. It's legally binding. It's a determination by the local county, which is the lead agency, that it's a replacement bulkhead.
So it's new. It replaced the old one, making it the new one? Kind of weird pedantic games is he trying to play? This is his defense? Like, this is as stupid as I'm not driving, I'm traveling. This isn't a new bulkhead, it's a replacement for the old one.
Then, they said their water was my land. They said that land is water. I'm not making this up. And then they used all this case law, wetlands, saying, well, it's a wetlands. It's a wetlands. That's the violation there. It's a wetlands, and we have jurisdiction within your private property. And then the U.S. Supreme Court came out last year and said, hey guys, you just can't make up wetlands and claim it's your jurisdiction. It doesn't go. And I said, hey guys, you're caught. And they said, oh, this case isn't about wetlands. No, what are you talking about?
Would you even be able to buy that land if it was wetlands?
You could buy it, but you couldn't build a 3-story home on it. And the Department of Ecology would never approve that.
But you got all the approvals to build your home. Yeah. And see that it's kind of like what you're telling me. It's like, show me where this relates to me and my own property. It's kind of like income taxes. You know, people think, oh, income taxes, got to pay those income taxes because
you do.
I was born into the system and we always have.
Correct. Maybe not always have, but certainly do now because it's federal law.
Show me one law anywhere. IRS, go call your attorney, call your neighbor, look it up on the internet, ask your best friend. Find the law that says we owe income taxes.
Seriously? Didn't they do a whole ass amendment for that?
There's none. There's not one law. So these agencies are pushing these statutes and regulations, and they're just agencies. I mean, it's this is the EPA that's coming after you.
It was Army Corps. Like I said, they fabricated evidence, and then I was criminally investigated by EPA and NOAA, and then EPA got the case, and they realized Army Corps committed fraud. So then they committed felonies by tampering with the evidence. And I now have public records where they then turned it into a wetlands case without saying anything. And then the DOJ prosecuted it as a wetlands case, but they didn't actually say wetlands because there are no wetlands. They just used the word waters of the United States. And the judge and the DOJ played this game of citing case law of wetlands to backdoor into jurisdiction. And then Sackett happened, as you know. Oh, and they defaulted me because I wouldn't participate in their delusions. I kept saying, I don't have a new bulkhead. I didn't do what you said. The county said I did everything correctly. There are no pollutants. I removed concrete from the waters. No, I removed concrete from my land. I made
He fucked up there. How did the concrete get there, sir? I removed concrete from the waters that I had put in it. I mean, oh.
made my land smaller. I expanded your waters. That's exactly what Congress wanted. Why are you coming
I
after
don't
me?
think Congress intended random assholes to change the flow of the body of water because they wanted a bigger house.
And then, and the reason why is because I didn't turn my private property project in Washington State into a federal activity within Washington State.
You didn't have to turn it into anything. It already was. You just chose to ignore that, and then you faced consequences for it.
And this is what your neighbor did, correct? Your neighbor turned it into a federal activity.
Yes. And it already was. Your neighbor just brought it to the attention of federal authorities.
And she's complaining because you didn't turn it into a federal activity?
Well, that's the deception here, right? The reason why they have to do all this to me is they want to make me a public example to terrorize the public into voluntarily asking for a federal permit. Because
yeah, they're already required to do that if it's applicable.
Because once you ask for a federal permit, you've taken your private property project, and now you're contracting with the feds to make it their project that you're paying for, that you're taking the liability for.
Not their project. You're just required to get permission to do things to make sure you're not damaging the environment.
And putting DC regulations onto your project voluntarily out of fear. And when you do that, then you're subject to the Endangered Species Act, because the Endangered Species Act is only subject to federal properties, federal agencies, and federal permitting. And this is where they implemented this right before my project, to start tricking people to do federal Endangered Species Act consultations. And what consultants have said is frequently the amount of money that they want from property owners is more than the project actually costs. So they say, hey, based on our analysis, we want $100,000. And if you can't pay that, well, then you won't get your federal permit. And then if you do your project, you'll be in violation of federal law.
It sounds like they're trying to prevent people from doing projects that'll harm the environment. That sounds like it's doing its job. Can you believe they're going to charge me a whole bunch of money? Yeah, it's probably trying to discourage you from doing that particular project because it would be deleterious to the environment, because it would be shitty. So they're charging you a bunch of money to offset the benefit to you to do it.
That's insane.
So it's a backdoor way to control your property and, yes, extort money from property owners under the color of law.
Mm-hmm.
And I refused to ask for a permit because I didn't need it. And actually, the permitting process, Army Corps was given all the documentation by the county and didn't ask for a federal permit. So I didn't know any better one way or another. It was afterwards they wanted me to submit for a federal permit. I said, show me where I need to.
Oh, there it is. Okay, so they weren't even just coming after you initially. At first they were like, hey, we need you to get a federal permit, and you refused, which caused further issue. Interesting how as this goes on, the truth is coming out more, isn't it? He wasn't even blindsided by this. Presumably they're like, we need you to fix some things and get the federal permit, and he refused, which is leading to the fines and the further prosecution. That makes sense.
So 5 years after my project, my neighbor turned her project into a federal activity.
Okay.
And 5 years after, during this legal proceeding, and did exactly what I did, but in a much more harmful way. I did everything from the uplands, best practices under Washington State. She brought in maybe 100, 200-foot barge, crushed the beach 2 times a day for 2 weeks, had excavators with diesel polluting the air and driving over the beach and just destroying everything.
Again, it sounds like she actually got the federal permit, so not really inclined to believe you here.
And this is their approved federal project.
This is their activity. And she was to move hers back 2.5 feet. I moved mine back. I wanted to move mine back a foot. Now, the Fish and Wildlife moved it back 17 inches. However, remember, Army Corps fabricated evidence that I moved it waterward a foot. So as you have your photos there, these two bulkheads are both vertical and they're both in the exact same placement. Yet mine somehow causes irreparable harm to the environment. It's into the water, yet hers, the waves don't bounce off of hers in the same way. And hers is back 2.5 feet. And hers is just, spectacular. It's good for the environment. And Army Corps doesn't want to go look at it. And no enforcement. Now, mind you, both of them. Oh, and she had no inspections, by the way. She failed all the inspections she didn't have, and she has an expired building permit, which is what she needs to finish to actually do that project. So the level of
You just said she had the federal permit.
hypocrisy here is
and if you think she doesn't have something, then go ahead and call on her. That's fine.
Can't make it up. Furthermore, the state legislators require the Department of Ecology, not the applicant, not me, to ensure that the state and local laws comply with the Federal Clean Water Act. So where is it my responsibility to do the state's job of ensuring compliance of a local program with the federal law? It's not my job. That's their job. And that's because the state entered into contract under the Coastal Zone Management Act with the feds.
Okay, I think I gotta call it on this video. We're not even halfway through. He continues to complain about this for like another hour.
To come into our state and transport people across the border into the state.
Jim.
Wow, he just keeps complaining forever. All right, moving on. Well, this Kennedy Walker thing is weird. Tea with Goblins with 145 bits says, "Hey Hannah and Stanas, I made the mistake of reading the comments on social media, and I just want to rant into the void. I'm really tired of edgelord activists who respond to calls to vote blue as somehow translating to supporting Israel and therefore being okay with genocide. The same kind of people who refuse to engage in any practical actions for change because it isn't all burn it down revolution. Purity politics is infuriating. Thanks for letting me rant." Yeah, I agree. Anyone who's withholding their vote for some sort of reason regarding that, I think that's incredibly foolish, and you're hurting Palestine. But whatever. I need to pee again real quick. Chair will tell you about ghost stories, and then we'll get on to this Kennedy Walker thing. Alright, so Kennedy Walker is the sovereign citizen that tried to sell magic mushrooms at the farmer's market. He's also a flat earther. And oh boy, he and his buddy just like to get on stream and ramble at each other. Pretty interesting.
I don't know. I know that you probably saw the short program that I did about the woman who got arrested because she refused to give her ID, and without trial, without any kind of criminal proceeding, the probate court deemed her incompetent, and they threw her in an institute for the criminally insane, a prison for the criminally insane for like 9 months. Did you see that one?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So that's some nice.
That couldn't happen without a court hearing. That would be at least something that would get someone a competency hearing. So I'm assuming he's mishearing this. You would have to get a competency hearing for this to even happen, which is with a licensed professional.
1984 type shit right there. And then they drugged her. They drugged her over and over again.
Yeah.
With no sentence, no nothing. And, the socialists were making decisions that affected her life, directly.
Oh, yeah.
Without any kind of legal standing, with no kind of decision by a judge.
Conviction.
Yeah. No.
Again, a judge would have to make a decision for someone to go into a hospital like that. Like, if it's during a court case.
Kind of decision by a judge, no ruling, no opinion, no nothing.
I think he's mistaking a social worker for a socialist. He calls everyone he doesn't like socialists.
And just this criminal probate judge who deemed her incompetent.
Right.
So that was sort of the beginning of, me getting to this 1984 system that we're living in.
Right. So, see, shit like that is why I say go on the offensive immediately. Where
yeah, absolutely.
If they're committing a crime, then you're not just going to sit there and whine about it. You're gonna make clear that you're filing a criminal complaint on them, and get their supervisor and report the crime or place them under arrest.
I want to see the manager of the judge. Nerdy with 13 months says, woot for only being able to resub after an ad break. Also got COVID and flu jabs on Tuesday, got fast-tracked due to being vulnerable, and boy, I'm glad my arms hurt less now. Well, I'm glad that you got vaccinated. Thank you. Very responsible of you. I need to get boosted too. Benekagami says, all I'm hearing from this is when we kick the Republican asses this election, we'll have so much work ahead of us as a country, and in response to Tea with Goblins, idiot activists that are part of the reason liberals are more comfortable siding with conservatives than us, they see the cons as more reliable allies because half the time leftists threaten to just burn the country down. I'm all for critical support, but come on.
See, because it changes what the conversation is in trial, completely. It just completely changes it to the point where, you're not even going to be talking about you. You're going to be talking about them.
Right.
All of these fucking laws and stuff, god damn, man, they're so stupid. They're based on nothing. They're not even crimes. And yet people will sit there and fucking defend it. Dude, I cannot believe these commenters I have. I have so much better conversations with ChatGPT than these fucking... I don't consider them people. I consider them just fucking clone tards, just fucking one and another.
Strike one.
Dime a dozen.
I did listen to this earlier, and I think that's the only slur for like half an hour, though, so that's good. So he likes talking with ChatGPT more than human beings and thinks real people are NPCs.
What are they? What the fuck are they? Dude, I was saying this in that email. Like, think about if you were God. Yeah. And you're deciding who goes into heaven. And it's like, well, this idiot believed every fucking thing they were told, regardless of whether it was based on something or not. I want him in. He's a good man. Yeah, right.
Yep. Dude,
those are the only people I would keep out. They're the only ones.
That's interesting. He's imagining himself as God and deciding who gets to go to heaven. That seems healthy. Stone Corbell says, the tell me what I want to hear box tells me what I want to hear.
People that don't even have brains of their own? Yeah, you gotta go.
Unlike ChatGPT, which definitely has original thoughts. Sarcasm. All of the sarcasm.
What kind of a club would want that person in there? Like an exclusive nightclub? Or what kind of an exclusive restaurant? Or It's just like, oh, well, you fucking literally do anything you're told, no matter what. You'll believe in it. You'll go and fight with these people. So many people want to fight me about just what? I tell the truth, and then they want to fight about it.
Yeah, but they don't have they don't have any kind of a stance. They don't know how to. It's like going into the boxing ring and thinking that you're gonna do well against somebody who's a national champion, and you haven't had any training on how to box.
It's worse than that, though. It's when you get in the ring, you don't end up trying to throw any punches at all. Bro, I would rather my comment section be full of people bringing up points and me giving the rebuttal. Having legitimate conversations. But they can't do that because they get in the ring with me and they just kind of fucking like Monty Python and the Holy Grail where he doesn't have arms. I'll bite your legs off.
Yeah, exactly. What we see there is, the masses, the same kind of people that come into our comment sections and have nothing to say. They don't listen. They're not paying attention. All they're doing is hailing their oppressors. And when the oppressors come on and start telling them how free they are, they calm down and they get tears in their eyes and they get all emotional. Here's our saviors, our oppressors. But this other guy who's telling them the truth about where they're at, he's hated. And they never shut up. They never hear a word he has to say because they're screaming and yelling and shouting and and being, these programmed drones. Just like all the people that rail against the Constitution. They rail against their own Constitution.
Thank you, Fox.
Constitutional rights, and they hail these pigs and these judges.
I got PO box stuff. Tomorrow we'll probably open these. We'll probably be doing a PO unboxing tomorrow. So if you sent me something in the PO box, be here tomorrow if you want to see it or watch the VOD.
And these politicians.
Oh yeah, I listened to like most of this earlier today. These two basically sit here and just like, how do I put this? Stroke each other's egos. It's weird. It's like they're children. Have you ever listened to children pretending and they're having like a conversation, but like little kids who like don't know things? So you kind of hear them repeating concepts and stuff that maybe they heard elsewhere, but they don't really understand it. But it has sort of like the pattern of a conversation, but the content is, doesn't really make sense. Isn't quite right, That's what this feels like. It feels like an exercise where they're both working each other up and talking as though they have an expertise that they don't. Kind of interesting.
Like they're going to save us from ourselves. Right? It's insane.
I've never
we were
seen
talking
the movie
before we went live about how. No, go ahead.
I've never seen the movie, but all these people shouting all this fucking nonsense. It's like, do you think that they believe that they're being heard, or like they're just, dude, they're like animals where they're like just barking at, they're just barking. It's not really to be heard. It's not for communicative purposes. It's just ruff, 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 ruff. Like something, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're there where people just don't want to hear it, and like no one wants to know what reality is. I don't even get it. I don't even understand their point. I honestly, like, bro, you know that you've got a freedom of speech, and all the time you're like, oh, your speech is a disturbance. Oh. It's like, what are you talking about? You know you have a right to bear arms, and yet every fucking place you go, some government agent is telling you, you don't have a right to bear arms.
Right.
Like, that we're not supposed to be quartering soldiers, and yet you know that you're paying the rent for these socialists.
He considers paying government employees through tax funds to be quartering soldiers. That's not even close to what the Third Amendment is about, but he sure does like to claim it is.
And they're at war with us. So they're definitely soldiers, and not only that, they're enemy soldiers.
Thinks that all government employees are doing treason and working against American citizens, and therefore they're treasonous and should be subject to punishment. That is his belief.
Yep.
And then people pat him on the back, like, thank you for your service. Oh my gosh, dude. That might be the number one giveaway, that you're so out of it that you will just, dude, you saw a bumper sticker that said that, and now that's your belief system. It's based on nothing. You can't defend it. It doesn't make sense when you look at any of it. And and then over and over again, like Fourth Amendment right to be secure. Are you secure if someone just points at you and fucking turns their emergency lights on and gets to take your stuff and your kids and your dog and your...
They don't generally get to do that unless they have a reasonable articulable suspicion or something like that. Like, I don't think people are just raring to steal your kid from you for no good reason.
I mean, come on. Is that secure? Dude. You got to think about America like it's all... it's consent of the governed, okay? And that the American people are American people because their forefathers signed up and said, yeah, I'll go with that. And why is that? It's because the law wasn't that some servant points at you and ruins your whole life and takes your property and loses your jobs for you and gets you divorced. And come on. That's not why people agreed to be part of America. So that
Did he just say the police made him get divorced?
Right. Be told what to do by servants. I asked you nicely to do this. That means you're now breaking the law. I'm a servant, and I asked you. I didn't even tell you. And now, here it is. I'm telling you that you're a criminal for not following my ask. What?
Yeah, it's insane, man.
And then all these people shouting, sovereign citizen, sovereign citizen. Like, what are you talking about? You think it's sovereign servant? You do, don't you? Well, that's a contradiction in terms. Now, I know people say sovereign citizen is, but that's obviously wrong.
Yeah, sovereign citizen is not it's not a contradiction in terms because the Constitution lays it out. Every person, man, human being, is sovereign. Is sovereign, not over the next sovereign, not over the sovereign standing.
If everyone is sovereign, then no one is sovereign. Like, you're giving it such a broad meaning that it means nothing. Like, what do you mean? People have rights. Are they sovereign? No, a nation can be sovereign. A head of a certain kind of government can be sovereign. You as an individual cannot be sovereign. You are a part of a society. By definition, you are not sovereign. Laws apply to you.
Next to him or the one next to him or the one next to him, we're sovereign over our own lives. You've made this point over and over and over again. And even Paul, the proper instruction motivates people guy, he says the same thing, but he says it differently. You know, you have to be personally responsible and you have to conduct yourself in a manner that your life is under your control. Then nobody else can step in and say, well, you're out of control, blah, blah, blah. Yet they do it all the time. They do it all the time to people that are reasonable and rational and calm, who just want to get public records. Public records. This is you've had this problem. Lots of people are having this problem now, and it's coming to the top in a lot of these different channels, that these socialists, they don't want us to have the evidence of their crimes. And so they make it difficult for us to get records. They make it difficult for us to get...
They hate us. That's what it all comes down to. That's why my book's titled Treason, instead of they need to fill a public records request. It's not called we need transparency. It's not called, you know what I'm saying? It's that they hate us. they're at war with us. There is no defense of the socialists. It's theft. Okay? So there's homeless people working every fucking day right now. And the reason they're homeless is because the government is taking all their money, all the value in the whole country, to the point where they'll leave work that day and they'll have enough for food for the next day.
I think you're putting a lot of the onus of that on the government, when most of the, like, country's goings on aren't due to the government, they're due to, like, private companies. The economy is private. Like, how is this a problem of the government? Like, he's not getting fucked by the government, except in the sense that they're not providing, like, help in this scenario. If he's going to work and he can only afford food for that day and nothing else, it sounds like he's getting fucked by the business owner of the place they work.
So when exactly...
Also, that's an incredibly simplistic, like, view on homelessness. Like, don't get me wrong, there are people who are homeless, and it's just because they ended up... bad things happen, and they wound up in a bad situation due to no fault of their own. That absolutely happens. There's also a subset of, like, homelessness, though, that is drug use or mental illness that requires direct intervention and help. And you can't just look at the government and say, the government made you pay taxes, so now you're addicted to heroin or you're mentally ill. Like, that's not how this works. Like, those people need help actively to get them out of those situations. Weird.
Are you going to, buy a barbershop and fulfill your dream? Never. Never. Because we're too busy feeding the socialist and sending the socialist off to wars with our equipment and with our young men, and then people want to respect that. Oh, yeah, you found a zombie, and now you think that you should salute them or something. You should thank them for their service. You should treat them like a hero.
No.
They didn't build their house. I did.
I got into this conversation the other day with an acquaintance of mine, and we were talking about this and that and the other thing, and he got around to, what do you think the important issues are in this election? I said, the most important issue in this election is the reestablishment of our republic, our constitutional republic. Nothing else matters. But who's talking about taking back our constitutional republic and putting it back on top where it's supposed to be instead of being in this socialist system? Nobody. Everybody's talking about immigration.
Ron Paul talked about it. Not many other people even...
Somewhere the ghost of Thomas Jefferson is crying that this is the closest in modern politics you'll get to a democratic socialist party.
Understand what liberal, big government, or conservative, small government means. Ron Paul, I think, was basically the last figurehead where he started making sense. And then as far as Rand Paul, I'm not sure. I've heard conflicting things out of him.
Yeah, he confuses me, and people that confuse me get shunted off to the side until they can figure out how to explain themselves in a way that makes sense.
That's incredibly telling, isn't it? He doesn't feel it's his responsibility to understand something. It's the responsibility of others. And if he doesn't immediately understand something, bear in mind, in this case, we're talking about Rand Paul, so nothing interesting or important. But, like, if that's your general view, that if you don't understand something someone says immediately, then you give up until they seek you out and force you to understand, that's not good. That's maladaptive. That's a bad way to go about life. You're going to be supremely ignorant if that's how you function.
Okay. Kurt, I'm glad that you're here, buddy, but we're not talking about flat Earth today, okay? We weren't even really talking about it the other day. I see what you're saying, but...
Well,
yeah, they're flat Earthers, if you don't know, by the way.
In a lot of ways, it's very similar. If he's got a question or something, we can address it, because it comes down to this thing that we do.
KF Logan, how you doing? Hope you had a good stream. Welcome, Raiders. I'm Hannah. Today we're doing Sovereign Citizen Watch. We're looking at a group of conspiracy theorists that think that due to a bunch of pseudo-law nonsense that the law doesn't apply to them. And right now we're listening to some embarrassing individuals from the movement. Kevin Logan, or not, I'm sorry, that's your name. Kennedy Walker. Sorry, I'm near the end of the stream. My brain's fried. Kennedy Walker, who is a flat earther and a sovereign citizen. Hello, Raiders. And my people, make sure you check out Kevin's channel if you can. KF Logan 1875. There's a link in chat.
Where we're just gonna trust some fucking bullshit that we've been told.
No,
And-
yeah,
and
I get that.
That's the sick.
The oblate spheroid hasn't explained itself to Kennedy to his satisfaction. It is a shame. Unfortunately, planets tend not to be very good at articulating things.
And it's the same sickness in the law as it is with the shape of the Earth, or with aliens, or with Bigfoot.
Right, the constituency of outer space.
Yeah.
The constituency of outer space.
The nature of time. Prehistorical antiquity.
Yeah, 5 million years ago, these claims. This shit's all based on what your belief systems are about. And you'll just kind of accept it if you've been told that the Earth is 5 billion years old, or 6.6, or whatever it is. 5.5, I think, is what they say the Earth is. And then the solar system started like 13.9 billion years ago, or some shit like that. And
yeah, but can they prove that?
Of course not.
No, we don't have the technology to prove it. They think they do, when really all they're doing is postulating and making up theories.
A lot of people think they do, but the people making these theories, like say Stephen Hawking.
Yeah, them saying prehistorical antiquity, they're just smashing words together. They're just trying to sound smart. They're just trying to be like, I know a word, but they're using them wrong.
Whoever came up with this narrative.
Are they religious? Yes. Kennedy Walker is incredibly religious. He's a biblical fundamentalist, I believe.
I don't think that they believe that at all. I think that it's just a story.
Well, it's, these
Sawzled Snake, thanks for following.
These theoretical physicists, all they are storytellers, and what they're telling is all fiction. It's all made.
Wow, they think the theoretical and theoretical physics is like very different than what it actually is. That's funny. What they say here is funny too about math.
Up in their minds. That's what theory is. Theory isn't something that is proven. Theory is just an idea. It's a fiction in some.
That's incorrect. That's not what theory means in science. In science, theory is a set of understood, unfalsified facts, right? As far as we know them tentatively. So, like, the theory of gravity is a theory, but it's constituent of facts. Facts and mathematics that have been proven make up the theory of gravity, right?
Somebody's mind that they write down on paper, and they hand it off to more fiction writers who look at it and go, yeah,
Hello, Pete the Feet. Welcome.
That's a good story.
Theory is an explanation. That's a good way of explaining it, yes. It's an explanation made up of tested and verified experiments and observations.
Yeah.
Night, Jason Proxy.
No.
Yeah, for sure. What was his question anyway about the flat Earth?
Jeff Hates Pig says, Grandpa told me that I was hatched by the sun from cow poop.
Crow poop?
Sorry, crow poop. I don't know how I've read cow there. I guess it's just, whenever I see the word poop, I think cow goes in front of it. Crow poop. Well, there could be worse things than.
Whenever he sees the word poop, he thinks cow goes in front of it. Very specific problem to have.
Coming from crow poop. Yeah. Did he really tell you that, Jeff? Did he really tell you that? Or, yeah.
Well, there's actually 2 creation stories in the Bible. One is, let's see. It doesn't explain it very well in the Standard Bible, but apparently Apocrypha sources have a little bit further explanation. But essentially what we've got is, how did it go? Man and woman was like created from the dust of the earth. And then woman was created from Eve's rib. Oh,
Adam's rib.
Is that how it went?
No, Adam's rib. That's why.
Adam's rib.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we have one less rib.
And
That's why women have one less rib than we do.
That's not true. Fun fact, if you're a former Christian or a Christian that learned that in school, like I did, I went to like a fundamentalist Baptist elementary school, and they told us that, like it's a real thing, as if women actually have a fewer rib. Nope, that's not true. Men and women have the same number of ribs. That's a lie. In case anyone else was taught that.
I don't understand. You know, that's it.
Is that even true?
I don't.
It's not true. It's not true.
No, I don't know. Let me look that up. You go ahead. Keep going there.
Okay.
You're right. Sorry. It was that men have one less rib, and it's like symbolic of the rib that was given to make Eve.
So apparently,
not true.
This first woman's name was Lilith, which is not in the Bible, as we see it today. But she was like an equal to males, to Adam.
She wanted to be, and then God was like, "No, I'm sexist, so no."
And she was tough. In other words, like these women on the movies that they're trying to portray, those are Lilith, where she's tough and she's like a man, where she can get things done and she can think through to the solution, and like she'll use.
Women aren't allowed to think of solutions to problems. That's men's work, obviously.
Violence and things like that, like where she's a man. That was Lilith. And then Adam's like, bro, this bitch is fucking not cool, and I don't like hanging out with her. And so God was like, okay, and then he created Eve out of Adam's rib in order to be a subservient to him, not his equal. And so, you know, people are like, well, who did Adam and Eve's kids have kids with? Well, there was actually a split, you know, mother. There's two mothers. So
I don't think it's ever said that Adam and Lilith have children, and even if they did, they'd still be half-siblings. You're not getting rid of the incest allegations by just making them half-siblings.
Lilith had offspring, and remember, they lived for a long time back then. Eventually, God realized that a person either cultivates into mold.
As the internet has taught me, it's only okay if they're step-siblings.
Or into mycelium. And it happens in just probably not that long, really. You start deciding who you are, you know, maybe in your 20s in our culture. If you were free to be your own child, then maybe it would be earlier. People would gain self-actualization earlier if they weren't being constantly sat in desks and taught shit that they're never going to know anyway. I somehow retained...
Empty Dur says, "Oh no, step-sibling, I'm stuck under this tree of the knowledge of good and evil."
all this information. And it's so weird to me that all these commenters show up and they retained none of it. And now they've got advice for me. And it's just like...
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I see your commenters, and they have... They make no contribution, positive or negative. They don't have an argument. All they say is, you're mentally ill, or, you know, you got these problems, or you're on the dole, or whatever, man. You know, all these non sequiturs, man. You know, they are basically they're the people that show up at the racetrack with a car that doesn't run, and they just sit on the sideline and yell and scream, "I need to be in that race too." It's crazy, man. It's insane. Listen,
no, they're happy being herd animals. They're happy being in the crowd. They would never bring the car. They're not that guy. You know.
Yeah. You've got the big chair for a couple minutes, Kennedy. I got to get up, so you go ahead, man. It's all you for now.
He starts to talk about his court case here. This is sorry, I'm having trouble with words today. I was writing, or like I said, I'm working on edited content, so I think my brain's a little fuzzy from that. I was really nervous about working on it. Now my brain's elsewhere. Anyway, This is where he starts talking about his ongoing court case for the issue where he was trying to sell magic mushrooms at the farmer's market.
Okay. So, what's been going on lately with my case, I guess, is what I could get into. So, for one thing, I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Judge Landis threatened me again on the motions hearing, where he hand-waved dismissed all of my constitutional objections in favor of things like case precedent and, you know, state laws and just judicial policies and just anything he could do to avoid upholding the law, which he's bound to under Article 6. So Article 6 Supremacy Clause is going to explain the law of the United States to you, and then it's going to tell judges their mandate to uphold the law of the United States, regardless of what any state law is.
We get it. You're upset that they don't agree with your interpretations of the law.
And that certainly goes doubly for anything that's not a law, right? Like a judicial policy. Who does that apply to? I don't know. It's not me. Anyways, so the judge prevented me from recording. And remember, he's supposed to be a lawyer, but he's not very clear with his speech. So what is recording? Well, that means he banned me from writing things down, taking notes. Not that I can anyway. I can't write.
Do you think that's what he meant when he said no recording? Really?
But so banned me from that and video recording, audio recording, everything, right? And so because of that, now I don't have any record of what he did. I asked him in court if I could have that record. He said yes. So now that became a judge's order. He said that yes, I can have it. I can have it.
Wait, do you think that because he verbally confirmed you can have it, that they're getting it for you? You need to file to get it. He was agreeing, yes, you can get it. He wasn't saying, I will get that for you, or my clerk will get that for you. You need to actually apply to get the record? Oh, God.
And so, obviously, what are the court clerks? Meryl Lee Aldred, she's been in several of my videos. Or at least one. Auditing 2.0, where I filmed in the courtroom the first time. So that was years ago. Anyways, I accused her of slavery at that time because she's threatening people to be jurors.
Did you know that jury duty is just slavery?
Dude, knock it off. Stop threatening people around you.
It's not threatening people around you to say you're gonna have a jury trial. What are you talking about?
Like, knock it off. This is unacceptable. It's not acceptable anywhere. You go around some little woman is running around like threatening people and telling them what to do and stuff. It's just like,
he's so weirdly sexist.
Get real. Get real. I pay you to know these laws, and now every time I talk to you, I'm having to correct her about either.
What about all those rural jurors? The rural juror.
Juror. Whatever. So I made a request for ADA.
Rural juror.
Hey, access. And I asked help filling it out. Remember? Because disabled. So that's the whole point of ADA, is that you get access to these things regardless of if you can write it yourself. Your servant can do that for you. See, but their whole shtick is, well, we're not servants, we're sovereign citizens. Sovereign servants is what they believe, right? They don't think they're citizens. Citizens are scum to them. That's what they believe. Because why? Because we feed their kids, we pay their rent, we feed them every day. We literally do their dishes, literally.
Yeah, we pay for their useless lives.
We literally mow their lawns. We literally do everything for these people. And then what do they do for us? Well,
you know what literally means?
Well, every chance they get.
Is he married? No.
That's a good question, Kurt Olson. There is not one scripture they talk about the ball earth. You're.
That's absolutely spot on.
It's pretty close. It's pretty close. Okay, here's what I know about it. First off, the Quran says something about being spread out like a carpet. Could you have a carpet on a ball? Yeah, you can. Technically, you can do things like that. It doesn't seem really in the spirit of spreading it out like a rug. You imagine a rug, right? Doesn't really say it. And then there's the Bible. What does it say about the shape of the earth? Not much. There's a part where Satan takes Jesus on the mountain and he says that you can see the entire earth. Now that kind of indicates flat. However, let's say it's a ball and you're looking at one half of the ball. Does that mean that you're not looking at the entire earth because you're not looking at the back of it? You never look at the back of stuff. You're always going to be looking at your side of it. So
you never look at the back of stuff is such a funny What do you mean you never look at the back of stuff? What does that mean?
I'm not sure that it really says whether it's flat or not. Another thing it says, though, is Noah's Ark. Does it make sense to build a tower into heaven if you live on a ball in space? Probably not. But what if you live in a ball with the firmament? Then it could. So the Bible doesn't actually really answer the question. There's some things that kind of could indicate something, but bro, it is so hard to understand context when you're
he did say Noah when it was Babel. That is weird that he conflated the two. They are like right next to each other. They're both early on in Genesis, so I can kind of see the mistake, but that is a weird one.
1,000 years removed. Bro, even if you're a mile removed and it happened today, you basically have no idea what happened.
Right. You know, like even I'll give you a perfect example of your analogy just now. You know, the mile away thing. You know, one night I was coming home and I could see the red and blues and the red and whites of the ambulance on the road that I live on, which is rural. And I thought, oh, great, somebody had an accident up here. You know, I couldn't figure anything out because it was dark. You know, all I knew is that there was a car upside down in the ditch and it, you know, lost control somehow. So the next day I came back and I parked and I walked along the side of the road and I saw the skid marks. Right. So whoever this person
Are they anti-sovereign citizens? No, they're just sovereign citizens.
was driving was going
They just call public like workers sovereign servants.
Possibly going way too fast. B, something ran out in the road in front of it, a cow, a pig, a horse, Bigfoot, a deer, a flock of turkeys, whatever. No, turkeys are sleeping at night. Never mind. You know, something ran out in the road and they slammed on their brakes and lost control then or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, I had no idea what happened. I could see the result of whatever unknown event happened. I could see the result. I could see the tire. You know, I could see the black marks on the road where they locked up their wheels, and I could see the damage to the fence that they went through, and I could see where...
Oh, yeah, their whole thing is that they just ramble at each other and try and make themselves feel important. It's interesting.
Areas.
Constantly are wanting to argue about, like, shit they have nothing to do with. Bro, if someone actually makes a point, I always refute them. And at the end, I'll be like, well, you tried. You tried, but it was based on nothing. It was based on your gibberish that you saw on your TV. And as long as you're going to go ahead and accept crap like that as proof of your position, like, dude, they show up and fight with me because they watched, like, some TV show like Matlock. It's honestly...
The dated reference.
This are completely full of women. And it's because women will go along with any crime. They're not going to stand up and say... Well, public servant, all these offices are completely full of women. And it's because women will go along with any crime. They're not going to stand up and say, hey, that guy has a right to film in this courtroom.
No, they're never going to say that.
Well, a man would. Men will. It's 50-50 with the man. But 2/3 of women will go ahead and go with no matter what the authority says.
Right. Yeah, what'd you say? It's the Meldrum
Yes, Dark Wolf, he is.
Experiment? What's it called again?
Milgram Authority Experiments.
Yeah, it's a circle jerk podcast of two really misogynistic dudes.
Seems to be this movement.
Who are sovereign citizens. Weird stuff. That's enough of him, because holy crap. exhausting, but I find him fascinating. I hate when my own hyperfixations become exhausting. Because, oh boy. I'm still like, I need to scratch my brain because it's itching for it, but like, it's painful.
You want to bring this country back on track? Get rid of statutory laws applicable to men and women. There's your start right there.
What would they do? Here we are, we're not leaving. What would they do? They would be rewritten?
No, the statutes
It would just be made known?
It's very simple. Okay, listen. So you take statutes, codes, and ordinances. Here's a little secret.
I'm
You
listening.
take statutes, codes, and ordinances, and you make them applicable to corporations only. Like true LLC.
They would actually stand up for our rights then.
Right.
What? But like, how would you deal with people like committing murder or fraud or larceny as individuals? Like, you don't want any laws about anything? About any behavior in society that like maybe we want to discourage? Nothing? Full purge.
That's right. And
okay.
and you stop bringing men and women into your courts and charging them under statutes that are applicable to legal entities. It's very simple. You could keep all that intact. You wouldn't have to rewrite it. You could still keep your little fake legislatures, legislating corporations, but you just make it applicable to corporations. Then you bring in the common law. Okay. The common law is based on the 10 commandments. Thou shalt not kill. Thou shalt not steal.
It really isn't.
Thou shalt not do these things.
Common law is literally just a system in which everything is determined by case precedent. Like, if a judge decided a thing initially, that's how you deal with that issue. Like, our judicial system has elements of common law in that we have judicial precedents. But, like, he wants a system where that's all there is judicial precedents, which is not good.
Things and the other things, right? They're unambiguous. So guess what? If I come over to your house and I run over, I keep using it, your prize azalea bush, and it's $1,000 bush, and you're like, Scott ran over my bush, and you call the sheriff, and you go, Mr. Sheriff, Scott ran over my azalea bush. He owes me $1,000, and you got a couple of witnesses, and the cop goes, yep, okay. Now the cop can enact common law because it's a woman, a real woman, bringing a claim against a real man. Now the sheriff is going to mediate, and he's going to come over. He's going to write me a citation because you have signed a complaint against me. Now I'm going to go to a court, to a jury of my peers, and they're going to go, yep, Scott ran.
This sounds more like a small claims court issue than it's some sort of like felony that would require a jury trial or even a misdemeanor with enough time. This feels like a matter of money, so it would be a small claims court issue.
Over the bush, he owes.
Like, he knows you could go do this right now, right? You could file someone if they harmed you in some way and do a small claims court thing.
Gianna $1,000, and the court's going to impose that judgment and enforce it. It's so simple.
Not issue you a ticket where you have to pay the court.
Right. Now, under the statutory regime, the state, or under the common law, the state can't victimize itself and profit hugely off of it. Because guess what? In that scenario, Gianna gets paid $1,000, and then yes, I may get, but these courts are operating under common law based on taxes, right? But they may assess some sort of a fine or something like that, but it's all common law because a real person brought a claim. Under the statutory regime, if I run over your azalea bush, cop shows up and writes me a ticket for, battery of an azalea bush, and then they haul me into court, right? And they make me pay the court, and then they tell Gianna, well, if you want to get in there, you got to sue him.
Yeah, right. Now, in the common law videos that I've uploaded, I've gotten 30 of 110. They're just amazing. So I'm listening to them. And the guy is so funny in these videos. He takes everything to court, parking tickets, everything. And these videos are from the 80s, and we would not have you do that. We just handle it on paper. But he's very funny and he's from a small town in Idaho. And so they know who he is because he'll take everything.
Why is this video subtitled like this? A lot of free editing software these days has automatic captioning like that for like TikTok videos and stuff, and often people who are like Gen X or above, if they're streaming, they'll turn it on just because I don't know if they're just don't know it's annoying or what, but it's just something I've only seen from, like, Gen X people on the internet, if I'm being honest. Obviously, on actual TikToks I see it, but I see it not on TikToks, mostly from Gen Xers.
To court, parking tickets, and
I feel like it's a case of them having seen TikToks and going, I know this is a thing the youths do, but they don't know the correct context in which that's acceptable. I don't know how to explain it.
And he's very great. There's a video I told our friend John to listen to. I said, this is like the Vince Lombardi speech. You are only going into court and you're not coming out unless you're winning this at the Supreme Court level. That's the attitude. You're not acquiescing. You're not giving in.
Right.
And he said one time the judge said to him, and as he was, there's a learning curve to figure out how these things work. And the judge said to him, you always cost the court money and you lose an appeal because you get lost in the process. Why don't you stop doing that? And he said to the judge, well, you're coming after me for costing the court money. Why don't you speak to the prosecutor and tell him to stop bringing causes of action against me?
That's
Like,
stop breaking the law, asshole.
Right.
boom, right? Like,
That's
boom.
right.
It's a two-way street. He says,
It really isn't. Stop breaking the law, asshole.
go in there. If you're going to go to court, cost them as much money as possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. That's it for Sovereign Citizen Day. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to do Chud Watch. I already picked a few Chud Watch videos earlier today that I'm excited to take a look at, including a very creepy statement from Tucker Carlson about Trump being everyone's daddy. Very gross stuff. Love you too, Mr. Blast. Let's see, who are we gonna raid? Of course, Phoenix.
Anyways, you were saying...
I don't think we can raid Hal Sparks, can we? I think he has raids turned off, which is fair. See, though. Yep, doesn't allow raids. Queen Pib again?
Need to have Stewie in the party.
Alright. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow. Like I said, we'll be doing the PO unboxing tomorrow along with Chud Watch. So I'll see you then. Make sure you join the Discord if you haven't already so you can vote in the costume polls, because I have costume month for like the next 3 months. That's good. The Spock costume did come in, so tomorrow the Spock costume should be available. Have a great night, everyone. I'll see you soon. Bye.